You're not afraid. Man in the wilderness. Togetherness, me I tell you, man. Hey, tonight, act, you know. Well, act. I have the video them line off. Me have the video them will line off tonight. I'm going to tell you something. We'll take sleep mad dead people. People at Jamaica. And in the diaspora, you know nothing with Andrew and the minions them. If you can't see a prime minister at the land, when the truth knock him, the truth, and him walk out at the parliament, in the Margan house, him done for. And I believe this is not about him wife alone, because of the truth mark attack. The opposition leaders eat the truth. So this is not about those about him wife now in the house. But to him no matter about the 6 and about the rest of how much of them 8 plus the rest. And the corruption. That's why him say low blow and walk out. To take note. Remember this. Around day before yesterday, I see something. Somebody said, come give me. Andrew put up. Put up Richard Azan. That's a corruption. Richard Azan. To build 6 places. And him says it's a dark night. It's a dark day in Jamaica. Because it thought to draw down the whole government. Look where him call corruption. Look where him are going with now. Look what him are going with now. When me look, me see Al Queenie. We get fire and off him out and bush rat. I can play the whole video. But before me play that, I go to the part there. I have to go to the part there. I'm going to play the next 7 minutes when I go outside, go talk. And just do a press briefing. Me have part of that too. I can play that before I go back to the top of the video. Because we have to dissect it and we have to tell you, hey, we don't make a chicken. Never again. This must not repeat in a Jamaica again. Yeah? When him jump up or low blow, him know him corrupted him and him corrupted bunch of minions. And you see the one of them, I tell you, go bush rat all him tail a fan all about the place. Done with that. Let me start with that, so no long talking. Yo, my sister, Shernette. I Shernette Earth Strong tomorrow, you know. So you know we're a big guy up on them thing. They're not true. Yeah, man, I Earth Strong tomorrow, so she just turned 16 now. You know, yeah, get back, go back, you know. Yes, just turned 16. So Shernette, man. Yeah? Happy Earth Strong, you know, to the world. Make us just jump in at this and just listen. Because we want to play that video from the top, you know. Yeah, that we are talking about, man. Vendetta, that we are talking about. He must come back with nothing we don't want to hear him. Nothing. And I don't tell you, say, Marky G is not a man with them play with for morning. Remember, I'm telling you this about 2 years ago, you know. When a man come and say, boy, even my brother there in undercover, I say, Mark's off, man. And so I say, Mark's off. Let me tell you this. Me by the 20th of July, 20. Mark at the 19th. Mark ain't no soft nothing. Mark rougher than what them think. But they say from the people, just stay with them on a level, but you can't ramp with him. Don't play with him. And you can't step on poor people, because I'm tell you, the kind of art. Because remember, we have art for poor people, you know what's not at all, you know. You know, you Mark come and tell you when since some of them want to go to unless them a thief. You go in a politics, you can make money. You know, you tell you that. Yeah. No, Marky G, we have Marky G after the budget. So definitely we're gonna have him. So you know, we have Marky G around here. More fire go fling because we talk already, man. But after 2 this I go on, so we're gonna have Marky G live. Do you understand? Round here, we're gonna attack here. Can we wait for the budget when it finish? Okay? Make a run to this. Make a hear this.
Mr. Speaker, change at the national level must focus on good governance. In this modern era of pervasive information sharing and communications, good governance is increasingly essential to maintain the people's trust and confidence in our democracy.
True.
Citizens are demanding that their leaders uphold the highest standards of accountability, transparency, and trustworthiness.
True.
All the measures that I've outlined for implementation will only be possible if we change the approach to governance that now exists. I'll leave you with the ways, means, quality, and spirit of the change in governance that we commit to. And good governance isn't just a set of ideals. It is the foundation upon which an equitable and just society can be built. The People's National Party has always been committed to fulfilling these ideals, and we will translate these principles into tangible actions that uplift and empower every member of our society. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we are in an increasingly low trust environment.
True.
Since the JLP government came to office in 2016, no less than 8 ministers have been forced to resign or have been otherwise sanctioned for a range of serious breaches, and Jamaica continues to rank poorly on international corruption indices. The move in 2020 to take away the chairmanship of most parliamentary committees from the opposition has weakened that mechanism of holding government to account. The maneuvers to delay the tabling of reports from the Auditor General and the Integrity Commission remains a contentious matter, especially since the legal opinion on which this delay is purportedly based has been withheld from parliamentarians and the wider public. When the former Speaker was forced to resign as a result of an Integrity Commission investigation, the move to replace her with the wife of the Prime Minister, so that the head of Parliament is now the spouse of the head of government, really does not sit well with the tradition that the Speaker must act independently of the government of the day.
That's true.
The Speaker...
Yeah, people, let me tell you this. The Speaker must act independently of the government of the day. If a balance, it's like a court, you know, like the highest court of the land. Serious. Remember, they might pass legislation, you know. Who don't know that? So although you get the Speaker from the ruling party, the government, that no means that the Speaker are come and just and come in and don't talk it and nothing like that. You have a balance. Look back by everything else. Where you see even when Warmington call people Jezebel. You know, your light speaker say, Mr. Warmington, and you know, hear them hush him up and disrespect him like that. They may say, and them talk to them people them same way. Because you're supposed to balance. Him now and Joe are run a dictatorship. You must say no, because him hear about the corruption. And the corruption make him a shake him head so. No, big like a light bulb. Eh? The corruption. Hey, him can't trick nobody again, you know. I'm damaged, you know. Just look on him reaction for your Prime Minister. Remember, you know, this is the guy, same one we put out Richard Azan and say it's a low, it's our dark day in a Jamaica and Richard now and him corrupt. Because the 60 cutting bill and a taxpayers' money or nothing. Look how much money chap. Look how much money chap. Eh? That there. If him a run with him, want him run with it, come on, use it and whap him. Him a run the traffic go, want use it and whap him because that was the corruption. I'm more than 8 of them, I know. We don't go see 8. Just go through, I remember we go through some of that thing we go through and push. You can't call the rest of people them. Even himself, I know him not declare film thing them asset yet, you know. As a Prime Minister sitting right here. And you must talk about corruption. Them don't know I'm getting wealth. And the people that live with that, well, they're not serious about here. Eh? You understand? They're not serious about you. Look on him face. Hear him now about low blow.
Is intended to be independent and must act independently of the government today. That is the tradition. That is the tradition. The failure.
Hear him now, low people. Hear him now, low and desperate. Them for run him where you know. Look, who that desperate when you want to hear the truth and you see the truth. Front of you must talk. This are the guy with desperate that you go for your man will build 6. I'm a tough me like draw them up. But when me done, me draw them up. 6 little shed. See, our little people, them police are run down. Both JLP and PMP. And him says, a dark there. For us, for turn Prime Minister. Him look for everything. I run out with him and bushshot and the one of them. Go check them account and go check what them have. Them rich. And nobody must question them. You hear them change it up. You hear them? Eh? People of Jamaica, they make them a chikuna again, you know. They make them a chikuna. That's why I found they can't travel and them things that people like them, yeah. Make other countries say, yo, we have to keep them out because when the country go underway, yeah, we can't let them in. Because I hate that. I hate it. You understand? This bad. But low and desperate, but low. When you hear low, you say the one queenie, you know. Because you know, remember him love when you hear about low, you know. Because when you hear about low, him look, you know. Everything about law, you know, say. Yeah, them fire him. But him run like a puppy dog, like him, you know. I want him little dirty thinking tail. Queenie. And the one of them. This bad. This name dark, dear. You know, the stream can't come back. You know, what am I gonna do now? Sit down. And them sit down and write some bag of crap. When they made it for talk, now you hear him come out. Nobody not gonna listen to you because I'm gonna burn you out wicked. Watch we on you. You can't come back, you know. Play.
The failure. Mr. Speaker.
Members.
See it? All right. Remember now when the people, I'm sure you get next. In wife, stop people from talking. So when you're the Prime Minister and the opposition, they're not trying to show you, and him as a Prime Minister talk about low and desperate. I interrupt because him don't want the wide, him don't want we in the diaspora. Remember we know the thing, you know, can we carry it every other day. Corruption just run up and down in the place. People in the diaspora, we don't want to hear nothing from Holness. Nothing. And now came up coming and go and I remember I don't love poor people, you know. The actions speak more than louder than our words. What him do? In a 8 years, him come with souls or state of emergency for this tribe, poor people. And get a people with, hey, me not have nothing to do with him, you know. Him can't trick me, you know. Me don't know how to make him trick, you know. Well, when you should Carboos tell lie with my with the man of Felt and Phillips and tell lie. So you know say, yeah, you get it from a lie at set speed. So we're done with that. Done with them. Play this. Here that look one at Xerox this, you know. This are the original Xerox, you know. Yeah, man. This are the original Xerox. You don't even know why him name Xerox, don't it? I asked him when I go to university why in the bathroom him name Xerox and who catch him. Xerox. That are Xerox. See? Here's Xerox now. Here's Xerox.
Members.
So him start with the law, him say desperate. So him start with law. Look who interrupt. The wife just say nothing, she move. I get that one. Look who interrupt the opposition leader from speak. Them like people don't know say who not corrupted already. Like people don't know. But law. And him start it and him walk and them go with him, the minions them. Keep on walking. Remember the day, yeah? Alright. See it and I know. Yeah there. See that? Him first walk. See that? Look at the one of them are watch the minions them now. The minions them there. Look at not thinking bushwater. Look at nasty bushwater. Number hey, Jamaican people not joke and oh in reaching on the house. That's why the house full of so much fungus, man. Oh, that reaching at the house. You could have turned a minister. You know, number one, if me alone, hey, if me have some people and some descendants of me, the one that don't have a clean for going outside, you know, because me couldn't vote for them, you know. Them, they couldn't get my vote, you know. Me, I look at your CV. You have to have a CV like Sir Golden. If you don't have them CV right now, I look at your CV and I look at them, you know, you can't come to the house. Me have to see what you do. And, oh, you rise up and oh, you make your money and everything. And I know, say, you're not going to figure thief. You can't, boy, you want to turn Prime Minister or something when me look. You're not honest. Move! You're mad. Continue. You see the one of them minions people up there. Look on them now.
The failure to identify the so-called illicit six.
You see it?
MP.
Look at them now and hear about the sick. Me not tell us. Let me tell the people the corruption where them are going with. Him call it low blow. Him call it low blow. Remember him coming him different right now, you know, when I draw for corruption. He start about traffic gura. He might talk about Hazan. He might talk some little thing. Shell waiver. Man, they did long time, you know, and Patterson did long time, and them a give them friend about a waiver and concession. Hey, them give people 50 years concession. Fin sack. And them friend benefiting. Remember the government. And the government see how you come borrow money from the government and them give your house or nothing, you know. I just street can't go down. Same like in 2008. You have to just study and know these things. These are what them run with. You understand? Them they are what them run with. See me I say? Them run with these things. It's bad. This bad. You understand? This bad. All right. See it? So when them spread them thing now and knock him. Welcome to reality, Holness. Can't get to play. Queenie. Outside.
Your Prime Minister fire you outside.
Your Prime Minister fire outside, pay him outside. The backside. Go outside, pay him outside. Yeah, them I use outside for them outside, you know. So Queenie outside for them outside, you know. Go, him get fired. I'll up him tail. Who is him? I want to Queenie. Go outside, pay him outside. Outside. Pay him outside. Tissue. Fear backside. I want to Queenie, man.
Minister fire you, go outside.
Go outside.
Your Prime Minister fire you.
Go outside.
Fire you, go outside. Go outside.
Hey, the man them cool enough. The man them just say, yo, your Prime Minister fire you, go outside. Outside. Pan him outside. Go outside. Outside, pay him outside. Your backside. Move. I want to Queenie, man. Outside. I want to him outside, man.
The failure to disclose the identity of the so-called illicit 6 MPs who are under investigation by the Integrity Commission for illicit enrichment
Member.
You're Queenie, you know. I'll stop you there.
Outside. 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 Who can't continue?
At this time,
No man, Julian, I tell him go outside. Go outside. I'm outside. Go outside. What's him outside? Outside.
at this time, there is by number
See that? Julian, I tell him, man, go outside. When I'm outside. Outside. Go away, man. Watch a bushwa team. Watch him dirty face. Eh?
I will not continue in this. So I'm asking members to be quiet. Thank you. Section 7 of the Standing Orders of the House of Representatives of Jamaica says the quorum of a house and of a committee of the whole house shall consist of 16 members.
You hear this now? So them walk out because you have 14 on the other side. So them walk out. So if you have 16, they must not continue. So you go out because you don't want the people them here. That not change nothing. You have to walk out again. But tell me what? Go in the foolishness. Him go outside, go talking. You know, finish it later, you know. But I'm going to play the rest. That's what I say to you, you know. Make this finish. Hold on, I'm going to play it for you. Continue.
Person presiding. If at any time during a sitting of the House objection is validly taken by any member that there is not a quorum present, the person presiding shall direct members to be summoned, and if at the end of 5 minutes a quorum be not present, he shall adjourn the House without question put. If at any time during a sitting of committee of the House and the House subject, and I read Section 2, subsection 2 of Section 7. And as it stands, I am now summoning members to come on the inside of the chamber, and we will wait for the 5 minutes.
All right, people. So Xerox, original Xerox, copy a machine. Just ask about university and papers and copy in a bathroom. Xerox. Him know what me attack. Him. Yes. Ask him. But them a teacher and, professor and imam. Xerox, original Xerox, this, And the pass up to the rest of Xerox, them. Original Xerox. So here Xerox are going. Then put him as deputy speaker. Xerox. Is a Xerox, this, When you know I want more Xerox. A Xerox. Him know, man. Him know what him do. At the university. Him know what him do. Yes, Xerox. See? So them say wait 5 minutes. They know them now coming back. And this, hey, Holness don't get defeat, Nobody must listen to him, Him now want you point out and hold him accountable. I want to play the whole thing. But before me do that, I'm going to finish playing Mark Golden outside. Because the one day, Queenie gone outside, him outside. Pan him outside. Pan him outside. But company him outside. Yeah, man. Pan him outside, man. See? So I'm outside. So, Mark Golden take it to the street. Gonna finish here this on the street. Them man and I play with them. Them like ball out on the PR, but when the real thing knock them run. We know that with them. Play that loan, so.
Told that the DPP's office is dragging their feet when there are a number of people that the Financial Investigations Division are seeking to bring charges against. In fact, in August last year, the Gleaner carried a report that from the FID that there were several persons that they were intending to move against with charges. That report is no longer on the Gleaner website, but I am told that the DPP is dragging their feet on this. The Kroll forensic report, which has cost taxpayers millions of dollars, was delivered to the government months ago. It must be released to the public so we can see what the findings are. Jamaica will not accept a cover-up of this shameful debacle, which has tainted our country's reputation as a safe and well-regulated place for Jamaicans at home and abroad to save and invest. In fact, a commission of inquiry into this SSL scandal will be needed. Jamaica is crying out for change in this area. This is why I have identified an entire cluster of portfolios within our own governance structure to address the now desperate area of transparent and accountable governance. We must translate good governance principles into tangible action that restores trust and confidence in our leaders and preserves our cherished freedoms and democratic way of life. Change means no more hiding of the truth from Jamaicans.
Show that people, no more hiding. You understand? And the PR stunt now work. You need equal opportunity, and you need one law right across the board. Yeah? The man knowing that. You know what I'm thinking? I come talk now. He might go tell you if him when him win away, I'm gonna do and them thing there. The man knowing that. The man in that plus everything else. And the corruption with them in that. And he might try it out there and tell us I'm too corrupted. I don't do no PR. I don't know rich everlasting in no night. Continue.
Change means no more deception in official public communication. Change means putting transparency and communication at the heart of good governance. It affirms that respect is due to those who elect governments and pay taxes. That's why we will implement a comprehensive strategy centered around engagement and accessibility. Our aim is to ensure that every voice is heard, to bridge the gap between leadership and the people. This means holding town hall meetings, physical and virtual, to give every citizen a voice in the decision-making process.
You don't want no more than that. Them take it away. When you thought I'm going to bed for him. We'll turn all on these things, physical and virtual. every single Jamaican have a voice. Yeah, than abroad. If you are sending your money and sending over 3 billion, you must have a voice too. When you look your granny dead there and your mother dead there and your father dead there and sister, you pick with them and you must have a voice. A place can just run down and people are lying in pocket and you can't talk. And you have a dirty force and you have all kind of little thing, transparency, gone through the window. You need somebody to bring it back. Some people for start go to prison and them things for take away. That's why 80 states, you know. Papa that, baby that, and it run up and that, hey, I tune know, hey, them thing have to change. And it can't change, you know. People them have to just get serious and say, no, we see where you in a, we know in a that with you. Prison time. Or you get the whole of them things. First, I mean, I'm not chatting with you. Or you reach, or your wife reach 800 million, nearly $1 billion. So that and the next source probably $1 billion. Who never heard that? You have enough business people, not cure them run business. I know them not reach them the value 50 million yet. Have 100 million. Own a past billion. In a what? In a third road, in a office. When you're crazy, run that. Continue.
It means conducting community walks, listening to the concerns of our constituents, and working together to find solutions. It means providing regular progress reports on projects and programs,
yes,
and keeping the public informed.
You hear the projects and programs because your projects are on, and they're going to tell you $22.8 billion, 21.8 billion hospital reach from 2016, and nobody knows nothing. That couldn't have done a PMP, you know. Because the same Android it go up on 100 million a year, them run out to the people. Corruption, this, that, boom, bam. And you have to break it down and show them. But PSOJ is silent. People want to start boycott PSOJ too, because them are the clique. Them agree with everything when I mash up the country. Just to benefit them. I want to know, when you know, no care what you make, I'm not greedy, because you can't spend it off, if you not dead left it. I want to know, because you not dead left it, you know. Because when I have it and I just put it up there and more. We're not dead left it. But to the market, I don't have a whole country, how much generation we do know on the evil. Saying, when you make the country strive, man, you're not evil, man. Continue, man.
Every step of the way. Change means practicing accountability as a central principle of good governance. That's why, after the terrible incident of the woman being beaten in public with a stool, I tabled an impeachment bill in the House of Representatives in 2021 to provide a mechanism to hold to account any parliamentarian whose egregious conduct brings his or her office into disrepute. Despite this having been a manifesto promise of this JLP government from the 2016 general elections, my impeachment bill has not been allowed to go forward.
The man adjust the bill himself. Can't the one there, judge and beat a woman and neck with stool. And them do everything, and them not get charged. If they look at get a youth, you say one thing them charge. That's why I know unite, you know, the court system and the last, it won't fix. It really won't fix. You understand? Some people bigger than the law. You understand? I love that shit. I want everybody know the thing to stop it too. I love it, man. I love what you just say shit. Yeah, man.
Select committee provide stakeholder consultation and then be passed into law. They don't believe in accountability.
They don't.
When I entered the political arena, there were some entrenched ways of doing things. Making change happen requires a fresh approach. Things will be very different under my watch because I will tolerate none of it.
Hey, me not tell you, me not telling a man. No, night, man. I'm telling you, I'm not tolerate nothing. The entrenching him not do it. And a film style.
The last PNP administration put local government in the constitution. We passed the 3 strategic laws to modernize the legal framework of local government in keeping with modern best practices. One of those laws, the Local Governance Act, makes provision in Section 18 for the recall of an elected mayor, and it may be initiated by a petition alleging a charge of gross misconduct or dereliction of duty, and it has to be signed by at least 25% of the registered voters in the city municipality.
So you see what I do? You can recall them and that like you, it put power in your hand. So even a mayor, you know, sometimes you put in a mayor where you put him in beg. And then him start, mash up people's style and run up and down and do one back of that thing. You live in the area, just recall him. That's how I want to vote them in like when you're voting the one more. You just recall that. You just got 25% of who vote. And when you just go and recall him. Him not good. So you know what that I do? It will keep him on him heels for work for you. It might work. So these are good ideas. Remember, you're not going to recall him out of some, spite or, bad something. No. We're going to say your vote. We know say your vote because we say come register for your vote, so we know your vote. And you're going to recall him. You recall him because we see where you're going with and you can recall him. Recall him. Take him off. Fing him away. Them kind of way that you get service from them in your country. Good thing, Marky G. Believe in it.
The next PNP government will institute a fair and balanced recall system for elected officials, both at the local government and parliamentary level.
Yeah, we want to do local government and parliamentary level. This is the greatest thing for Jamaica, you know. But you can recall, you could have recalled Andrew. You could have recalled Queenie, one of them. When they do these things and you see it, you recall them. So they want to come and do this, you know. Them that walk on a very thin string over the highest precipice. You know, like 2 mountains, one day we over some, one day over some, you walk on it, you know, and you know, so if you drop in that city, you know, you have to try balance. And remember, little breeze blow you off in the come out, you know, them high, you know. See? You understand? So when Marky G come with the right thing around there. Yeah, man. Yeah, man, more than disgrace, you know, Maria. Yeah. Yeah. Budget presentation by opposition leader. Yeah, man, disgraceful. More than disgrace, man. He's a loser too, you know. He's a wimp. The whole of them had some lackeys, yes, man, a wimp, the whole of them. Play this.
Open accountability and empower the voters with recourse where they are badly let down by whoever they elect to parliament.
Hey, people of Jamaica, I know the diaspora, that's going to be one of the greatest this achievement. Because when you sit down and you say, I'm going to go like him, you're done now. And some boy vote and think you can't recall them. When them not doing a work and them go on and do foolishness, you can't remove him before election. That's going to make them shape up. Because without, remember, you can't move them out for some, you know, something where you just want to move a man, you know. We have a system to do wrong, you know. You can't move him. Can't tell them wait long time, man. A PR stunt them run with all the while. Me not telling them, man. Nobody must listen to him and him PR stunt. All him a come back, you know. He might recycle some things over and say, oh, you in Anjo watch. And we can show now again. The most corruption may ever come, not even a CIA got time. I know, CIA from Monday time, the CIA, not even a CIA got time. You know, have so much corrupted thing run from film watch. Like Anjo. Those Anjo, you know, have to go to Bruce and go nowhere else, you know. Anjo, from 2016 till now. Count the whole of them. Count all vals to him. Don't even sell play so much money. Them have to scrap that. Them want to give when we look up, give a man something for how much million. And I get up half around 8 how much million I fight for give him away. You know, I remember them chop things. They want to buy thing get land Halliwell. Pay 120, like 10,000. 10,000 a month. 10,000 a year, like 120. How long you want it for? 25 years. Pay foolishness and them have to draw with that and him at the head feet, you know. Plus them over there, the amount of thing them move and chop it unbelievable. Them just come and just give a figure and them not work out nothing to you. And that's it. Road this, that. Everybody have water truck. Everybody have beer corruption, the whole of that. You can't have truck and when you look, you go and they say they're mal pit. You have truck, you have gas station. While you're in a government, you get the whole of these richness. All of these richness. Which other place them could have go to practice this? Because if you're a businessman, either you have your family around this or you put it in a blind trust. You can't just say, when we look at you expand. You're in a this way the pay can't give nothing, but you expand. And people listen to Uno. All them are suffer. Eh? And I tell you, boy, you better off. You know, come tell me that. Eh? Continue.
Change means not taking away the rights of the people of Portmore without proper consultations with them, followed by a referendum to let them make the decision whether or not they want to give up their city municipality status and their right to directly elect their mayor, a right given to them by the People's National Party. Jamaica has spoken. and the PNP has listened to the concerns of the people. We are offering solutions based on thorough research and consultation with our stakeholders. We will embark on this journey together with the people towards a future where opportunity for advancement is not a privilege, but a right for all. We commit to good governance for the people of Jamaica, not as some abstract concept, but as a living promise fulfilled to every citizen of our nation. We are on a fast track on the road to change, and we invite all Jamaicans along this exciting journey in a spirit of hope for a better and brighter future for all our people. And I would have ended, thank you, Madam Speaker, but I hope you not in the Parliament.
I'm going to finish it outside. Go there for the people, man.
Awake from your slumber and answer the call. The torch has been lighted, the dawn is at hand. Who joins in the fight for his own native land? Land of my birth, I pledge to be loyal and faithful, true to thee.
Minted council, yeah. Cut them teeth out that gale. Yeah. Only a new council there, you know.
I use the majority.
Just nice.
I use the majority.
Who's the man with the large
Majority, I'm try
Telling them, man, hey, when you can't see good people from far, man. No good people, man. Me. No good people, man. You know, play, man. We know good people from far, man. See? Yeah, man, we know good people from far, man. We have good heart, you know. Yeah, man. I mean, like people suffer them things. You want to read people deep with you, you know. When you look upon where the money come from. See, I'm like Michael Manley, you know. Him that more there, you know, the upper class thing, but he never lived so yet. You notice him not go for nothing, just simple the people them. And alter the balance in favor of the black and the poor. Eh? Yeah, man. Saying, Mark, you know, you mark to the same, all right, you know, none of them things. Mark G, good man. You understand? Them take it away, so you alter it back and give it back to the black and the poor. Who want to look on the whole thing, you know? But I'm going to play this. After this, you know, Mark G do a press briefing. I don't see that one yet. You know, somebody call me and me cut out, but me get a piece out of like a 3 minutes. I have to run it through now. Watch this, press briefing.
And I think he has put himself in an invidious position by creating history by walking out. When has a government ever walked out of its own parliament when it has a majority? It's absurd. It's frankly absurd. And I believe that when they reflect, I hope that they will see the error of their ways. I did not say anything offensive. I wasn't rude. I simply said that to have the head of government in the country and the head of the parliament in the speaker as spouses does not sit well with the tradition in our parliamentary democracy, and not just Jamaica, across the world that has our system of having a speaker who is independent of the government. This is a very important matter because the speaker is the umpire. We had some concerns, but we decided not to take an issue with it after she was appointed. Leader of opposition business didn't object at the time, and I was prepared to work with it. But having seen what has happened since, with these reports not being tabled on a timely basis, Integrity Commission reports, some of them being sent to the Oversight Committee, which the government controls.
You notice, Mark G can explain to you, like Chairman did too, the same way. Him tell us, the majority leader, him go along with the wife thing, and him not say nothing because him go along with that. But when him see, because she's supposed to be balanced, you know. We say supposed to be balanced, but when she start do that thing that like she think it's a party thing. So when she didn't know, she feel just do what she do, and I'm not like that. You understand? And I'm not like that. I'm gonna play it back. Just listen what him says.
Of the government. This is a very important matter because the speaker is the umpire. We had some concerns, but we decided not to take an issue with it after she was appointed. Leader of opposition business didn't object at the time, and I was prepared to work with it. But having seen what has happened since, with these reports not being tabled on a timely basis, Integrity Commission reports, some of them being sent to the Oversight Committee, which the government controls, which they may never be published in that eventuality. And seeing that the opinion that they're relying on from the Attorney General, given to the Parliament, they won't share it with the public and with us to know whether or not the justifications are sound in law. I just feel it's a very bad situation that has happened under her watch, and I thought I should bring it to the public's attention that this is a matter of concern.
Have you written to the Prime Minister about the issue?
Have I what?
Have you written to the Prime Minister raising concern about the issue?
I raised it in the Parliament today, and so, you know, when I write to the Prime Minister, he never replies.
You hear him disrespectful? The opposition write to you and you do not reply. Hey, when I feel one of them things, you know, because the man feels say, arrogant to kill. The opposition of the country write to you and you do not reply. And then first we hear this, you know, them have something with them to meet, when them call it thing the house. When them call the house where mash up there. Yeah? When them call the house up there, where the Prime Minister them used to live in, them call it Baba House speak, yeah. But the opposition and them speak about the crime and, you know, some money. In the reply. You understand? Just listen yourself. When them write to him in the reply, what want to when the shoes go on the other foot? Feel royal. Tax. Yes. Yeah? Yeah, this.
And I thought I should bring it to the public's attention that this is a matter of concern.
Have you written to the Prime Minister about the issue?
Have I what?
Have you written to the Prime Minister raising concern about the issue?
I raised it in the Parliament today. And so, you know, when I write to the Prime Minister, he never replies.
What did he...
You hear? When I write to the Prime Minister, I'm ask him if I'm write to. He said when I write to him, he no reply. This is all Anjo, arrogant, secure, and disrespectful and everything, you know. Him for go away, you know. Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
It take you so long to raise it in the Parliament,
Julian has spoken on the matter of the reports not being tabled on several occasions, so have I. This is a budget presentation when I get to speak in an unfettered way on whatever issues affecting the nation that I choose to raise. That's the one opportunity I have. I don't have that opportunity to speak freely in Parliament generally because of the rules of how Parliament is conducted. I chose to make the point today when the nation would be listening, and which is it's a significant moment, the budget presentation of the Leader of the Opposition. I thought it was the right time to do it.
It was the Speaker who raised the issue of the quorum, sir. Was that appropriate versus someone on the floor of the Parliament raising that issue?
I think it was brought to their attention by Mr. Warmington, who has been fired, but is still very much in their minds and dictating how they operate, apparently.
But in them mind, Queenie will get fired. And you see my lap him tail. You know, see them have to run him outside. Yeah, I'm outside, man. Him for move, man. Go away, man.
Members of the government reached out to you and said, well, look, Mark, that was unfortunate.
Not yet. I have a ton of messages on my phone which I haven't gone through yet, but I'm not aware that they've reached out. But I would very much like them to do so. I hope some of the cooler heads will see that this was a really unforced error on their part and that they retrieve the situation.
Yes, I can't make it on that whiteboard. So I'm going now. The press brief, and I'm going to run back on the show, you know. I'm going to run back on it. Because we just start the thing, you know. But before I move, when I talk about law, I'll show you all law and juggle. Let me show them all law and juggle. Me just a reminder of something, you know. Just one thing. This is when my opposition leader. Look on this. Now, I just remind him, you know. Now, to remind him, look on this. And this, I want him to corruption. This.
So, me ask, you know, I'm showing them Sabasita, Spalding, them are the man bill. So, you upon them asphalt, and this the people them that for stand up on that. And this make the whole of that them have to resign. That's
Okay, so these people, this was a dark day in a Jamaica. I seem still have up this too, you know. It has never do nothing wrong. And no money is not even a cent from the and then even if you're a member of parliament and you build this, or they consolidated fund, it too no bad. Them are run on the people, them gonna beat them. And take with them goods and then build this in the bus park 246 and give them it. And this turn a dark day for poor people. And when wife used to sell in the market. Me da like build all this and me da build more. Make them more luxurious and the people them can relax. Because I remember some of my wife used to sell the thing in. You understand? But this him use again power and I'm talk about desperate. Nobody not desperate like him. Look at this. Remember this. This is what him say about that. Remember this, you know. Look at. This is where I run with. I want to run with it because I want to use it beating. And no sense. Look on this. Hear him himself.
Comfortable sitting in Parliament with a Minister of Government was openly accepted responsibility, who expresses no regret for the act.
No regret for these people. This seems corrupted, you know. This is a dark, and people, let me tell you this. All me say things, let me tell you something, or me live. I live by a certain principle. You see anything where if you want me buy something, I want to buy that standard there. When you set a standard, like him come and say this, is that there? Me not expect him to do nothing, not even to near this. That means he must be not even 6, not even 2 or 1 of them here. Him for just go and buy a book. Because if this was a that there, that means him now go over. Him not supposed to make the IC. I ask him for you, declare your asset, how much money you really have, how much thing you have. From 2021, 22, no 23. They got 23 now, 3 years. And 24 now, you know. So I have to give them 23 one. Right? Yes. 21 not clear, 22 not clear, no 23. I know them not clear. You never come and say, don't you trouble Zion. Because through me I said this, at the standard when me think say this or that there, for poor people, and here out to bring down the country. This was desperation. You must say, called in a desperation. This was desperation. This help out poor people instead of police take for your goods. To God, hey, them now not hard for poor people, you know. This are evilness, you know, in my eye. When them come down pan Azan and say him for lose him job, I would for draw down a government to make him turn government for this. You know, so the man did really desperate. And him evil to poor people. Very evil. And him and the minions them put up this, but for use it and beat them with it. Can you imagine now your wife selling a market and talk about it? And Azan, get a man to build 6 of them there want me to show now. And this are the dark there. And not him alone. Bushrat, crab, cougar, the whole of them there. So this is a dark there. And him say, no care some people feel, listen, let me just play it out and then we go back to the budget. Watch out.
Where a commission of parliament has confirmed that the act is corrupt and has
So the act corrupt. So I'm to film act now. So if you live by the act here, when no cause of money, you know cause nobody and them not spend the money. But it's a corrupt act. For us help out 6 of our Jamaican people, them instead of them not son and run from police. Sorry. Him say that corrupt. So you see, it's a different standard when the PMP them in a power because the commissioner for they say it corrupt. And them are charge. Them are charge him. Them say for charge him for this. He never step down. And him said I draw down the whole government. So you expect a man should have live clean. Nothing. Them not supposed to come up on nothing. Nothing. You can't hear say Petro jam this one that the one there, that one there, one there. You can't, you're not like that. You're not supposed to hear this. You're not supposed to say, who is the illicit 6? You're not supposed to say, hey, in-house trading. Can't do in-house trading, you know. Remember, you know. Martha Stewart got prison for student for 40,000 US. We don't know how much money him have in a SSL when him close him account. Me have the don't yet me play the video. Him come and say him close him account from 2021. September him close him account, And by a year and like September, October, like year and 4 months, everything boss. Him close him account. That time you couldn't come out, that time police are look for you, you have to lock up the yard because of the pandemic. In a pandemic, you have time to close him account and put the man on board. But this was a that day. Listen here. Hey, when you use them thing, I judge him. The words from him mouth you use and hold him accountable. And how him live, you use it pan him. Every word when him say, when him come out and say this, and them you use and hold him. Damn ya. You understand? So you know him not good. Watch this. Hear this.
Referred it for prosecution. And that minister shows no sign of wanting to resign, or the Prime Minister showing no signs of moving to dismiss the minister.
Hear this.
With all the sympathy that one can have for.
With all the sympathy, look on Landbaran. Look on Landbaran a chat. With all the sympathy that one can have. Landbaran, Landbaran. No, I'm Charan, Landbaran. Yes. Jen? Not Ramcharan. Landbaran. With all the sympathy that one could have for poor people. See? You see all them honest. And that was corruption. If that was corruption, me I judge by that. Me not supposed to see a billions and me don't know where it gone. Yeah, man, me don't know billions gone and all kind of things and everything all over the place. Me not supposed to see this. Eh? It's bad. This bad. Make a play it, man. What play it?
Support. This is embarrassing.
What?
Not only to the government as a party, not only the PNP, but to the government, to Jamaica, to all of us. Our heads bow this morning with this.
Well, heads bow! Our Jamaican heads bow! We have 6. Our vendor them get a place in Sun about them and them run up and down. And no government money none at all. But it corrupt. And not just the government or the PNP, but everybody you have to hold on your head because this it's so corrupt till you can't believe it. Enough for them eye, not even a cent. If you just make your granny or your mother selling of that, that was corruption. Enough for them eye. So them supposed to clean. Them not supposed to have no problem and no patter cats around them and all kind of little thing. You understand? Them not supposed to have that. Hey, just listen here. Leah.
Sort of reaction to it.
So we have to take firm actions in this regard.
Firm action!
It is a dark day for Jamaica.
Oh.
Where the Prime Minister is unwilling or afraid to act against a minister in which the public has lost total confidence.
And the public lost total confidence because them run with PR. And some people hear this and them they measure it. But me like measure things like this because what you use, the same knife I use stick sheep, I have to use stick goat. In my book. And anything where you measure it, I measure it back. And when me say gone over that board, I say no, but where you this are the measurement from holding pan, The measurement I'm holding pan. So I'm not supposed to pass this. That they clear this. That when you look your wife, I build $800 million house, I don't know where the money come from. That you have water truck, you have gas station, you have market me money, all kind of things. We will read, not preach, nothing. The 6, we don't know nothing at all. The other one move, hey, land, everything. Like them are rape Jamaica. Have it wealth. Nobody for say nothing. Nobody now get charged. But this was corrupted. That's for sure some of them people there, where them put there, them are for the PNP. Because, move, you do this. Even the media hold them pan so much thing. But look what them now hold as and pan. And this, all for drive on our whole government. Yeah.
And in which the institutions of the society are all agreed that this person does not enjoy their trust or faith and has breached the confidence that the people have placed in them. I believe that this has the potential, if it continues, to bring down the entire government.
to bring down our entire government. The people ask them trust. So people, una have trust in Andrew Holness, una put the yes or no. Una have trust in Andrew Holness. Una last una trust in Andrew Holness. If just tell me now, say if una have trust now, just if una last una trust in Andrew Holness. Put it down, they make him see it. Can't tell the people ask them trust one, I know. In that in a Azan for help 6 our fellow vendors. Una have no trust in him. No trust. Una have trust in him? No. Una have who have trust in Andrew Holness? No trust. Okay. No trust. See there? Did not any. No trust. Yeah, man, don't put no trust and have no trust. I need election, general election now. Okay. Yes. So them now not you him tell them last them trust this. Who have trust in him? Una have no trust in him. Nobody see them long time. Lose trust. See there? See there? You are taught. You have to use this to judge him. Never play this enough time. Him a put it up on all them status. Him, hey, as some know say they know. By the university, but I'm gonna teach them something right. No trust. Yeah? No trust. The university not teaching us something right. You can't come out and me hear this from your mouth and you run. And I show me how you're honest and you're perfect and then you're doing things like this. Billions! We have 1.3 trillion, but we don't even know what's going on in the people. See, and not trust. Not trust. I'm matter of fact, what me I do. See, and not trust. Not even us in trust. See there? Look here. Look here. But what him buy them word there, yeah? That's how see me I do this. Hear this. Yeah. Yeah.
Thinking Jamaicans should raise their voice in concert against the high levels of crime and against
And against the government, right? To raise a voice in concert against the high level of crime and against the government. You're not doing enough. So that we are doing now. See there, people them now not see there? No trust in your brother. And enough people around here. None. No, I'm not just see there. None. We have to hold him by one words. You have beat you by your own word, brother. We know nothing less than that what you just say, look a while. That there. And look how much thing you do. Look how much. It's unbelievable. So go and ask him about this. And that's why I see my run and I say, no. Make sure they eat. So I can't get the eat. Go and ask him about the eat, you know. And the eat, when go and ask him about the eat, that knock him up. You understand? The LP. Go and ask him about the eat. And the eat now, the eat, I miss this.
Hijacked by the PNP.
All right. So go and ask him about the 8. And when him ask him about the 8, him jerk up. I'm gonna play that, you know. I'm gonna play this. You see? I'm gonna play this. You ask him about the 8 and him get jerk up. I'm gonna go back in a this and go play this, the budget. Let me hear some of the good things where Sir Gold in a company. Let me just hear some of the things. See?
Mrs. Williams, Mrs. Mallow Fort, Dr. Tufton, Mr. McKenzie, Mr. Chuck, Mr. Vaz, Mr. Charles, Mr. Green, Mr. Morgan, Dr. Clark.
You much of them walk out?
Mr. Hutchinson, Mr. Terry Long, Miss Smith, Dr. Dunn, Mrs. Cuthbert Flynn, Mr. Main, Mr. Davis.
You see much of them there? All of them walk out.
Mr. Main, Mr. Witter, Mr. Brown, Dr. Brown Burke.
We could move on now.
Mr. Wright.
Notices of motions given orally.
So when the speaker start, when think they start talk, you see I'm wife to dead, you know. And she move and get the other one. You see it? All right, Marco
So, as his deputy, I'm the House Leader today, and I want to express to the Leader of the Opposition apologies from the House Leader. He's over, he did, very good, very good. And so, Madam Speaker, I wish to indicate that the budget debate will continue with the contribution from Mr. Mark Golding, MP South St. Andrew, and Leader of the Opposition. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
He was there.
Parliament, let's make welcome to his feet the Leader of the Opposition.
Yeah, she want to put fear on our Parliament. Let's say welcome to the Leader of Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is with a sense of honor and humility that I rise today to make my third contribution to this budget debate in my current capacity as Leader of the Opposition. Returning to this House each year for the past 3 years as Leader of the Opposition solidifies my commitment to the people of Jamaica. I give thanks to Almighty God for all his blessings and for the strength, wisdom, and courage to continue to serve the people of Jamaica on the journey of national development. I invoke words from Psalm 46, verse 1. God is our refuge and strength. As I commit to stand up for and stand with the Jamaican people.
Yeah, stand up and stand with. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Every year, Madam Speaker, this occasion reminds me that this journey of representation is not one that is taken alone. My wife, my forever shining star.
Come in the morals.
Sandra stands by my side and in my support, and I hail her today.
Yes, sir.
Our 3 children and the new delight of our lives, our first grandchild, stand as a reminder of the sense of family that is so important to national development.
Yes. Yes, man.
This occasion also reaffirms the great privilege it is for me to represent the constituents of South St. Andrew. Without whom I would not be here. I thank them and I thank the members of our constituency executive, many of whom are here today, for the great work they do in service to the people of South St. Andrew. And at this point, I'd like to say a special word of congratulations and thanks to 2 wonderful ladies, Sarah Marshall and Louise Newland. They have been the CDF officer and secretary for the constituency, and they provide amazing, dedicated support to the work of their Member of Parliament. On the 26th of February, 2024, they were both elected councillors for the Trench Town at Admiral Town Division. And Madam Speaker, they did so with great distinction as they came first and third in voter support out of the entire 228 councillors across Jamaica in the recent local government election. Respect you. Once again, as party leader, I pay tribute to the team of patriots, my comrades in the People's National Party, who are dedicated to the defense of the interests of the people of Jamaica and building a better future for all our people. I wish to express my profound gratitude for your support. I also wish to thank my colleague, members of Parliament, on both sides of this House for another vibrant year of engagement. Let us continue to relate with civility in this House, guided by a shared desire to serve our nation. I also wish to thank the clerk and her team of staff here in Gordon House who work steadfastly to support what we do in the nation's Parliament. And Madam Speaker, I particularly want to thank the members on this side for their support, their solidarity, and their guidance along our shared journey. Though only 14 out of 63 at this time, we little, but we talawa. To our senators and other members of the shadow cabinet and their deputies and their juniors, I acknowledge and thank you for your service and contribution. I've put together an amazing team of young and experienced Jamaicans, representative across a range of demographics and professions, who are focused on the policies and programs that will improve the quality of life of the Jamaican people. Madam Speaker, for the past many months, I've been along the highways and byways of Jamaica. I wish to express my respect and thanks to the team of people within the People's National Party and the Office of the Leader of the Opposition who have supported me in this effort. Jamaica has just completed local government elections, and I want to thank all the voters who came out and exercised their franchise in support of our democratic system of governance. Madam Speaker, it is noteworthy and significant that for all the talk about voter apathy, the total votes cast in this election increased by over 81,000 persons, or 15%, in excess of the total votes that were cast in the 2016 local government elections, moving up from 545,571 voters in 2016 to 626,934 voters in 2024. An increase, as I've said, of 15%. Indeed, until we comprehensively clean up the voters list by a long overdue re-verification exercise, we will continue to underrate and denigrate the vibrancy of our democracy with this prevailing narrative about voter participation. Madam Speaker, I want to congratulate all the mayors and all the other councillors island-wide on both sides of our political system who were successful in the recent elections. And I acknowledge those who were not elected for their courage and commitment in putting themselves forward. I wish to especially thank the majority of elected councillors who come from the People's National Party for their hard work, resilience, and enthusiasm on the very long road that led to these elections. I also want to use this opportunity to assure them that their work has only just begun, and that what we are expecting is a high level of representation, accountability, and transparency in their conduct of the people's business. Similarly, the mayors in the 7 local authorities now under the jurisdiction of our party have their marching orders. We published a strong and forward-thinking manifesto, and I expect them to ensure that these commitments are kept, especially those that are possible of implementation prior to us assuming government.
Let me just stop this. So let me tell you something. Me hear the leader of the opposition say go no marching orders there, so what to do. He set out the thing and said, yeah, do this so I can implement, deal with it. Yeah? Nobody break that and rush nobody and do not know out of the way, you know, because people come first. People vote to and expect to
deliver and do what themselves do. And when the leader of the opposition say do, make sure it carry out. Yeah, because people power them deal with now, you know. No joke, not too way about it. Yeah, man.
And to start the implementation right away.
Yeah.
And we are happy to share our ideas with the other 7 mayors as we want to see good governance and even development in
you see that face how it look nasty? You see it? Eh?
the
Yeah,
local
man.
authorities right across the country.
You see that shake?
And finally, Madam Speaker, all the people of Jamaica who showed us that you are ready again to listen to what we have to offer, who demonstrated a growing belief that better must come, who came out and provided a popular majority in support of our party. We thank you for your expression of confidence in us, and we look forward to engaging you further in the year to come. We not only listened, but we have learned. I learned that we have a very aware and astute electorate who have come to see this government for what it is. Some are still cautious, but most are resolved. Who feels it, knows it.
True.
The people of Jamaica want change.
True. True.
Madam Speaker, today I will remind Jamaicans of some of the context in which this budget for the coming fiscal year, 2024-25, has been crafted. I will then address some real challenges that we found in the budget as presented, and then I'm going to provide you with some of the concrete plans that we will implement when we come to service as Government of Jamaica. I do this knowing that Jamaicans have seen the light. They know that we will be coming back to implement our plans. The people of Jamaica know that there's one thing about ideas. They are best implemented by the people who come up with them.
Actually, I'm talking, because when you just have a Xerox, them just copy them now, implementation not gonna go wrong. Be a chopping. So I tell you, say it best implemented by the people who come up with the ideas. True, man. True that too, man. Yeah, man.
It is time for change, and that is where we are going. We are on the road to change. Madam Speaker, I sat through
look how Patakata look, people,
and we look forward to engaging you further in the year to come. We not only listened, but we have learned. I learned that we have a very aware and astute electorate who have come to see this government for what it is.
Yes.
Some are still cautious, but most are resolved.
True.
Who feels it, knows it. The people of Jamaica want change.
Look at Patakat now. Look again.
Madam Speaker, today I will remind Jamaicans of some of the context in which this budget for the coming fiscal year, 2024-25, has been crafted. I will then address some real challenges that we found in the budget as presented, and then I'm going to provide you with some of the concrete plans that we will implement when we come to service as Government of Jamaica. I do this knowing that Jamaicans have seen the light. They know that we will be coming back to implement our plans. The people of Jamaica know that there's one thing about ideas. They are best implemented by the people who come up with them.
True. Look at Patakat, people. Look now.
It is time for change, and that is where we are going.
Patakat.
We are on the road to change. Madam Speaker, I sat through the 4.5-hour presentation of the Finance Minister, and I am more convinced than ever that this government does not have any intention of tackling the fundamental challenges facing our country. With them, Jamaica will continue along its current path, and the frustrations and hopelessness of the majority of our people will continue to grow. The 2024-25 budget is yet another tinkering budget, not grounded in a vision of development for for the Jamaican people. According to their economic model, something will trickle down to the farmer, the teacher, the nurse, the sanitation worker, the hairdresser, and the taxi man. After 8 years, they want Jamaicans to wait even longer for the trickle that might come.
Might come.
Much of what was presented we have heard before. The 6-story hospital at the University of the West Indies was first announced in 2015 by Fenton Ferguson. The Minister of Finance seems to have found the plan.
Hey people, let's stop this. Want to listen to this, because most of them are blueprint for you, you know. Yes, but true that, remember, coming 2016 and what have you, so them just come and present them like, there's a leave, see around there. So that you're Earth Strong tomorrow, you know, so you know where I run it to that. And watch Pata Cat them. Yeah, Mark, tell them the truth. The market, you're telling the truth. I hear this.
2020, and it was re-announced. The Jam World and Fort Rocky Entertainment Zone projects have been announced and re-announced several times. In fact, Fort Rocky was named Jamaica's first entertainment zone in October 2017. The customs duty changes on imports were announced on another stage last November. And new garbage trucks and buses were announced in 2020 to much fanfare and ribbon cutting. Meanwhile, Jamaicans are crying that times are too hard, the cost of living is too high, their wages are too low. Young people are crying out for opportunities to further their education and for better job options. Citizens are crying no to corruption and deception, and yes to transparency and truth. And in terms of broken promises and deception, who can forget the 5% growth in 4 years? An impeachment bill in the first 100 days after 2016, the fixed election dates that were never delivered, and Jamaica's greatest wish, sleeping with our windows and doors open.
Hey, that's why you see my run, you know, it couldn't take it no more people. Never cut this about intermission, because if you remind him these things in this and I tell him him lie and wicked, and him say what the whole people them are listening all overseas and yes, we listen, we know. A matter of fact, we have your bam video and your minions. I said these things, but have you? So don't worry yourself. Your opposition leader tell you how you lie and canish on a pata cat. I don't know. I tell them, man. I remind you, man. Don't trick the people them no more.
And there are a few new ones, Madam Speaker, that emerged during the local government elections, like converting Clarkstown into a city and Portmore into Little Miami. Mere pie-in-the-sky ideas masquerading as a vision of national development.
Hey, people, my hold on, they say, hey, up that budget is hot, man. Marky G, that's how you see me run up and down. Eh? Him they just want to tell a lie, them and make the promise and nobody not say nothing to him. Marky G, want him. That's why I'm run, people. See why I'm run, yeah?
We live in a country, Madam Speaker, where there is increasing doubt in the impartiality of our institutions, increasing reports of fear of victimization by Jamaicans not aligned to the government, entrenched apathy with Jamaican nationals losing hope, who feel there's no recourse, no justice, and no point in participating in the political systems or exercising their franchise. Clouds of uncertainty and concern regarding the rights and freedoms of Jamaican citizens on a range of issues from beach access right through to states of emergency. An absence of accountability for wrongdoers aligned to the government. The militarized...
That me I tell you, man. You see, that's why I'm run people. Because the wrongdoers aligned to him, they're not go prison. They're not go prison. Him think people now see these things. We are dealing with accountability, man. We need real government now, man. That's why I'm run, man. This is why I'm run, man. Mark a clobber him, you know. A clobber and get clobber, that's why I'm running. I couldn't take it no more, you know. Yeah.
Of the constabulary. All of this is the manifestation of a tendency towards our autocratic rule that I've spoken about year after year, right here in this budget presentation.
Yes.
That is the untenable foundation upon which the country is being run. The main idea of this budget exercise was leveraging economic stability. But that is not something that the other side can claim ownership of. That was a seed that was sown and nurtured by the People's National Party while in government.
What's jackass and lizard? We never see, we see guy code you know. You know the time, you know say a guy code this. I know say and jackass. Just look on the screen, man. Never stop it. You ever see a guy called a jackass a pie yet? Eh? Just look on the see. Come on, people. Wanna see? Oh, somebody say yeah. Wanna see guy called jackass one time. Why me I tell you not say anything you want to say better? Never stop it. See that guy called and jackass.
After the utter chaos brought about by the JLP administration of 2007 to 2011. Let me remind you, since you keep bringing it up, during the 2007 to 2011 period, the JLP government had abandoned the IMF program in a wanton act of fiscal irresponsibility, leaving Jamaica on the edge of a precipice and staring at disaster. When coming to office in 2012, Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller leveraged her many years of hard-earned political capital and laid it on the line. To lobby the international financial community to give Jamaica another chance. This was only possible because of the sacrifices of the Jamaican people who were willing to walk the walk because they trusted her not to sell them out. That is what saved our country from the ruin that the previous government had brought us to.
People, if you look on that, you know, they can Google it and look on it. I'm going to show you it. That's true. That's true, man. You the man I tell you the truth, eh? When you hear them say this and that, and them run it to work. Them have to go there and go deal with it and straighten it out. Yeah, man, that's true, man.
We pulled the country out of the mire of fiscal irresponsibility.
Yes.
With Dr. Peter Phillips as Finance Minister.
True.
And Portia Simpson Miller as Prime Minister.
Yes.
The PNP administration of 2012 to 2016 steadfastly prepared the ground in which the tree of fiscal responsibility began to grow in Jamaica. We got the country's public finances back on track. We transformed the tax system. We implemented other critical structural reforms along the journey. Along the journey of getting our national debt under control. And in 2016, the JLP inherited that tree with its roots firmly already in place and already bearing the fruit of fiscal stability. This is the foundation of the 12 years of economic stability that Jamaica has benefited from up to today. So, we taught you about fiscal responsibility on which the economic stability is built. In that period, I was tasked with responsibility for delivering the extensive legislation that was required to achieve that durable fiscal stability. A modernized revenue system and the other basic building blocks of economic stability. Yes, the same tree of economic stability you are now shading under. We nurtured its early growth. We made sure there could be no turning back. We led the way on fiscal responsibility. And you on the other side, then on this side, mocked us.
What is? What is? What on there? Who this? Me not give no trouble, but who this? Who that? Somebody can tell me who this? Because I don't know that person there. All this, sir? Who? Then the little time and the prosperity, you say something hardly. No, not him, man. I don't think of him. Him? What are the people who have to do? Let me look. I just want. Because they might say, no, step up something. I just want to match an image and just want to say for really him that, and then we just continue. I just look for something quick. I have to show it to you, because we just want to figure out who that. Because that's not hardly, you know. That's not, I don't think I hardly that. Well on there. Well on the time, well on there. That can't be Alisha. No. That's not him. Better than tell me somebody else, but not him that. That's not him. I say I can't find. Well on there. Let me see now. Well on the people. I have to really look for him this. Him? Wanna believe him? Hold on, man. Hold on. Before I move again, just give me one. Let me just look on something. Because I don't think of him that. Hold on. I look for a picture for match it, because I remember if you have something for match it, more see. It look like him, but I don't think of him that. That's something with him. I'm going to find it to him. I'm going to play that. I'm find it, I play it. Because I don't think of him. No, man. In a prosperity, I'm look for him again. Hold on. Him? Who this? He don't look like him none at all, man. I know him this. I continue playing. So this look away, man.
Whilst we were planting and nurturing that tree of fiscal responsibility, all you do is pass IMF tests, you said over and over. Do you forget? So don't lecture us on fiscal responsibility and economic stability. No Sankey, no sing so. We took the hard decisions and implemented them. You inherited a situation that we had fixed here in Jamaica. And you have spent 8 years leveraging that hard work that we put in and the fiscal responsibility that we left. And that is the truth. We on this side have no plans to cut down the tree of fiscal responsibility.
You hear that though? Our people, so I find this, I forgot what I run it again, you know, but I have to look for all this, I have to look for him and say for him. See him, man, hold on. I really him this? I him at the top that door. So this not under the when I'm looking at the PNP progress, man, and when them say a poor poverty. So this is a prosperity, right, people? Him, right? But this are the hardly one I know. This are hardly and the one here bush rat. And this are hardly look here. In a prosperity you know? No, sir. No, sir. I feel look good. Me really have to look good, you know? Alright. Me continue now. Because I have to look and say for them. Yeah? I have to look and say for them, you know? Especially hardly. Yeah, man.
It is a tree that I helped to plant and nurture with the work I did in that time. But we also, Madam Speaker, we also recognize that 2024, is not 2012. And the challenges and priorities are now different. Economic stability is not sufficient to meet the needs and expectations of the Jamaican people. The people need Jamaica to shift gear to something much better than what is going on now. The people want to see real change. Jamaica now needs a government that can take the country on the road to change. You say you're leveraging stability for all the people, but I must ask you, which people? Workers who are reeling from the high prices that keep going up? Farmers who are struggling in so many challenges? Civil servants, teachers and doctors who feel disrespected? What are you saying and what people are feeling just don't match up? Who is really benefiting from the stability that you say you are leveraging? If you look at the 24-25 budget, the picture becomes more clear. Madam Speaker, in his opening budget speech last Tuesday, the minister announced a giveaway of $20,000 for employees and self-employed persons earning up to $3 million who are in the formal tax system. And he gave it the fancy name, reverse tax credit. He said that the objective is to incentivize on-time filing and paying statutory deductions. However, that objective is really questionable because to qualify for this, he says that you will have to become fully compliant for the 2023 tax year already gone by March 31, 2024, and that deadline is less than a fortnight away.
Exactly.
Therefore, as a practical matter, it is most unlikely that anyone who is not already tax compliant will get the benefit. Furthermore, it is wishful thinking that a single payment of $20,000 would induce anyone who is now outside the tax system to take steps to bring themselves into it and start paying taxes. And it applies to persons below the threshold. The truth is that this so-called reverse tax credit smells like a $20,000 giveaway for political advantage as we get ever closer to the next general election. There's also another angle to it. The minister said that for an employee to be entitled to receive this reverse tax credit, his or her employer must have been fully compliant in making the statutory filings and payments for statutory deductions and employer contributions for 2023 by March 2024. Now I must ask the question, is this fair? How is it fair to an employee to deny him or her this little benefit in the event that the employer is not compliant with statutory filings and payments of deductions? Many businesses are now reeling from the increase in interest rates and are facing cash flow difficulties. So many of those employers may be behind in filings and payments of statutory deductions and employer contributions. The employee should not be blamed or penalized for that. Minister, an employer paying under $3 million to an employee, and the employee himself or herself should get this benefit, whatever the tax status of the employer. If you are on the system, you should get the benefit. In your estimate of $11.4 billion for this relief this year, you've assumed that 570,000 persons will be able to access it. So don't deny anyone the benefit on the grounds that their employer is delinquent. To do that would be simply unfair. Jamaica needs thoughtful governance. Absolutely. And that is why we are on the road to change. Madam Speaker, during the recent local government election campaign, the Prime Minister promised that the income tax threshold would be increased in what he said would be 1.5, 2.0. Last September, I had called for an increase of the threshold to $3 million, the purpose being to restore the real value, in real terms, of the $1.5 million that was announced back in 2016, and to provide some buffer for future inflation. The fact is that since 2016, accumulated inflation in Jamaica is over 46% since 2016. And an increase is required to restore the real value of the threshold that was last reset.
You me tell you about the real value what we are talking about. That's why I break it down when I tell you about the bread and the ply where it could have buy with this and you look on the real value. See the money I tell you about it, a real banker, you know. Yeah man, I tell you about the real value. So I tell you when I move the threshold to put it. Yeah. All right.
Back in 2016. After the Prime Minister's grand election pronouncement of 1.5, 2.0, persons are understandably quite disappointed that the minister has announced an increase of the threshold to only 1.7 million. That's $200,000. What they expected to be 2.0 million ended up being 0.2 million. And that translates to a mere $4,166 per month in benefit in their take-home pay. And Madam Speaker, I am told, I didn't check it myself, but you can check it if you like, that $4,166 can't even buy a bucket of KFC for a family looking to share and have community with family and friends. Madam Speaker, if the minister had, as phase one of restoring the value of the 1.5, even increased the threshold to 2 million, that would give persons an additional $125,000 per year in their pockets, $10,400 per month in their take-home pay. And that would be a more meaningful benefit. And Madam Speaker, it could have been paid for by using the $11.4 billion that has been allocated to the one-time reverse tax credit. In getting to $3 million, as tax inflows continue to grow, the threshold can be adjusted again in the future, in phase two, and maybe even phase three, depending how long it takes. So, Madam Speaker, Jamaica needs caring governance, and that is why we are on the road to change. I want to say something more about taxes. The minister likes to make a song and dance about no new taxes imposed since the last go-round of $30 billion in new taxes, which was imposed in the first 2 years of the JLP government elected in 2016 to pay for the 1.5. Then, the promise had been at the time that it would pay for itself, but that wasn't so. They had to impose $30+ billion of taxes to pay for it. However, it is important to recognize that the taxes being collected from the Jamaican people have increased dramatically under this government.
All right, so people, all right, good. So me I tell you now. So he might say, yeah, them the first 2 years, 30 billion. I may say the taxes gone tenfold up. Let me work it out and I tell you. Because there is no way you have a budget. In 2015, 2016, for 641 billion. And now 1.3 trillion. It double and more. It got past double, you know, it got past double. The animal said no new taxes. That is trick. Taxes run the country. And the little thing them when they market that run the country. So when they tell you these things, I lie. You the man I tell you, your market you tell you, listen.
Dramatically. Have a look at that table. And you will see in fiscal year 2015-16, which was the last year of the last PNP administration, the tax collected was $411.8 billion, which was 24% of GDP. The above table, this table, shows how much more tax. This table shows how much more tax is being collected under the current JLP administration. Tax collected now has moved from 24% of GDP to 28% of GDP. A much bigger carving of the national pie is now being paid by the Jamaican people in tax under the JLP. Jamaicans are taxed much more under this JLP government. That's just a fact. And if you look over the 4 years, the 4 fiscal years, 21-22 through 24-25, Madam Speaker, and I want you to listen to this, tax collections have increased by $409 billion. That's the increase in taxes over 4 years.
You hear that?
419 billion of additional taxes have been collected from the Jamaican people over the last 4 years.
So if you collect so much tax, or you say the tax now, well, you know it's a tax on the country. And Andrew, you come and say a lie, although you know a tax on the country, you know. You understand? Yes. Him tell you. All right.
For speaking has expired.
That's why you get voted out.
Madam Speaker.
Members.
Madam Speaker, I
Members.
now ask.
Look how she go, all right. See her husband attack and look how she do her eye. Look here. When she, you know, she come down at Angela Brown work, right? Look here. Let me show you something. When Madam Speaker, she's a member, and look how she do her face when them attack. She not rush them. Look here.
Madam Speaker.
Look now, people.
Members.
Look now.
Madam Speaker, I
Members.
now ask.
Look.
Madam Speaker, I now ask.
And she smile. That's what I'm telling you. Say, you see it. She don't work this then, man. See there?
That the standing orders be suspended to enable the member to continue his speech to its conclusion.
Question is that the member be allowed to continue his speech to conclusion. Those in favor? Those against, the ayes have it.
So, Madam Speaker, thank you for that. Thank you, colleagues. As I was saying, over the last 4 years, $419 billion of additional taxes have been taken from the Jamaican people. That is an increase of 66%, which is way more, in fact, more than double the accumulated inflation over those 4 years. Over those 4 years, 31% was the accumulated inflation. The tax has gone up by 66%, tax collected. And looking at tax collection on a per capita basis, in other words, looking at tax collection from the perspective of each Jamaican, since this JLP government came to office, they have more than doubled the annual tax take from every man, woman, and child in Jamaica, increasing it by a massive $190,000 per person. And it now totals $342,000 per person at the time of this current budget. They've more than doubled the taxes they're taking from the people. So much for this no new taxes Sankey. It is irrelevant. No new tax types, but much, much more taxes. 28% of GDP in taxes relative to 24 back in 2015-16. And as the recent election shows, who feels it knows it. Madam Speaker, Jamaica really needs honest governance. And that is why we are on the road to change. Madam Speaker, the minister says he's going to take away the protection that our farmers have enjoyed by removing GCT from the importation of raw produce. He says that Jamaica is on the cusp of being blacklisted by the World Trade Organization, the WTO, if we continue to protect our farmers. Well, based on our research, the WTO does not blacklist or unilaterally punish member states for non-compliance. Instead, an aggrieved member state must first enter into consultations with a non-compliant member state to seek changes on the particular measure that they are complaining of, or to win concessions before requesting the establishment of a panel to settle the dispute. The panel will thereafter issue a report, which can subsequently be appealed before the WTO's appellate body. The minister really therefore needs to state whose bidding he's doing by removing this GCT that was in place to protect our farmers. In recent years, the tensions in US-China relations, the Russia-EU sanctions resulting from the war in Ukraine, and so on, have adversely affected the workings of the WTO. For some time now, the WTO has not had a functioning dispute settlement mechanism since the US decided not to appoint members to the appellate body. And furthermore, the recently concluded MC13 meeting of trade ministers in Abu Dhabi, a number of critical issues were left unresolved. Reforms in the dispute settlement mechanism and and so on, including subsidies in agriculture and fisheries by developed nations, and other long outstanding issues for the benefit of small and vulnerable economies like Jamaica. In this context, we must question why the minister finds it necessary to proceed down this path instead of entering into negotiations with whichever party is agreed, we don't know who it is, as provided for under the WTO rules. The minister was also vague on the scope of this announced measure. What exactly are the imported raw food items for which GCT will be removed? I note that under the GCT Act, 3rd Schedule, Part 1, Paragraph 6, the category of raw foodstuff is extremely wide and specifically includes fresh fruit, vegetables, ground provisions, legumes, onions, garlic, meat, which is a very wide category, poultry, and fish. The removal of this protection leaves our farmers very exposed to unfair competition from importers who have little risk. We know that the rich countries of the world, North America and Europe, provide massive subsidies to their agricultural sectors, distorting fair competition and giving food imports from those countries an advantage over our producers here in Jamaica. Over the past 15 years, food imports into Jamaica have seen a steady increase, reaching over $1.4 billion in 2022.
What?
According to Statin. In contrast, our agricultural exports lagged far behind at a mere $273 million.
So, only hear this, people. The agriculture, but we export at 273 million. And we import what? How much? How much billion we import? And by how much enough billion? The food? Can you imagine if we eat our grow and the money they stay? That's over 200 billion. Can you imagine 200 billion, over 200 billion? Can you imagine the money they stay in Jamaica? Farmer them, you could like cheaper thing and all. Can you show me import none of them things? None. And leave the GCT. Can friend them own some of the license them who are carrying the things them. And the big boys them. Farmers suffer now because you can't compete. It's impossible. Yeah? You push out the farmer them out of business completely now. It's bad. It's bad. Yeah, man.
In that year. And this is a trend. And it underscores the vulnerability of local food production. Local farmers already contend with high overhead costs, including GCT and various inputs that they use, farm supplies, which producers in other countries do not face. Jamaican farmers have other disadvantages, including their small scale, relatively speaking, reliance on rainfall rather than irrigation systems for many farmers, and limited access to mechanization and financial resources. In 2022, loans allocated to farming operations amounted to a mere 146.3 million Jamaican dollars. That's all. The removal of GCT on imported foodstuff will worsen this imbalance between locally produced and imported foods. It is likely to adversely impact the sector and the livelihood of farmers while undermining rural communities who are the breadbasket of our country. Only last year, we saw how onion farmers in St. Thomas were hurt badly when import permits were granted to importers and flooded the market with foreign onions, leaving our farmers with produce that they could not sell last year. In removing the GCT on the imports of produce, nothing has been put in place to protect our farmers from the wave of imports of produce that will now come into the market without paying GCT. And there's a common theme here, Mr. Speaker. When I was in St. Elizabeth recently, the fishermen were complaining bitterly that they cannot sell their lobster because big players are supplying the market at low prices and squeezing them out. Their MP is the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, yet they are suffering. The government is letting them down badly, and it's a crying shame. Mr. Mr. Speaker, there's also the critical necessity for transparency in the allocation of these permits for imported foodstuff to ensure that there's proper consideration for local production capacity and to eliminate the possibility for nepotism, cronyism, and other forms of corruption.
Of course. Yes.
And we all hear who the major importers are. Jamaica Agricultural Society, the JAS, was apparently not consulted before this measure was announced by the minister, which in itself is an egregious example of arrogant and uncaring governance. We have to ask who benefits from this. Certainly not the farmers. So who? We have consulted with the farming community, and a raft of measures have been developed that can mitigate against what could turn out to be a very serious and prejudicial action if the farmers of Jamaica are to get a fair deal. The ideas have been proposed: simultaneously remove GCT from farm input supplies, including essential planting materials like seeds and farm tools and equipment to incentivize local producers and strengthen their sustainability. We could remove GCT from local food products, such as table eggs, to make them affordable and stimulate demand and push local production. We must enhance transparency, as I've said, in food imports. We can make the grant of import permits subject to parliamentary scrutiny and approval, requiring that import permits must be allocated on an equitable and transparent process, such as a public auction. And Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, until protective measures like these are put in place and are working effectively, replace the GCT on import foodstuff with a stamp duty on imported foodstuffs to level the playing field between imported and locally produced food. And we need to discourage over-reliance on food imports. It takes a little care to find solutions, some empathy and some will. Jamaica needs open, prudent governance. And that is why we are on the road to change. Mr. Speaker, the minister announced various tax breaks for the coming fiscal year, totaling $25.12 billion. Many no doubt expect that these tax breaks will be an annual cost to the budget going forward. However, the minister has not provided the country with any clear and sustainable plan to finance these tax breaks in future years. To the contrary, we were told by him last Tuesday that this $25.12 billion, the annual cost of these measures, is to be entirely paid for in the coming fiscal year by a one-off securitization of some receivables. He has not said what those receivables are. And when I asked him about this after his speech, his response to me was, the information is market sensitive. Mr. Speaker, this is totally unacceptable. The country must be told exactly how these tax breaks are to be financed.
True. True.
In the coming fiscal year and thereafter. The public may well be asking, what is a securitization of receivables? Simply put, it is a transaction where the government raises money now by selling sources of revenue that will be earned in the future. This means that a future government will not have access to those sources of revenue because they will have been sold now. And this government will have sold them off to fund its budget this year, leaving the cupboard dry. So who is benefiting from this? We want to know. Minister, the current March 15th deadline for filing income taxes and other returns is pretty rough on everyone who has to file their taxes. Getting the past year's accounts audited and then preparing the tax returns all by the 15th March is really too much of a crunch. An April deadline would ease pressure significantly, and it's time for change. other countries have later deadlines, and it helps with their budgeting and their financial planning. So why not take a leaf out of their book? It would give taxpayers who file more time to get their taxes right and would improve the accuracy of their tax filings. It also improves compliance by allowing a more reasonable deadline. It would be a step towards a stronger and more stable economy. Mr. Speaker, the minister was on board with this idea back in 2022, but we're now in 2024-25, and he has become very silent about it since then. I think it's high time that we see some action on this, Minister, and I hope that you will see your way to doing it. Mr. Speaker, on several occasions, including in my budget presentations in 2021, in 2022, and in 2023, I called for the total removal of the requirement for guarantors to access a student loan. The data I had seen when I was chairman of the Public Accounts Committee showed that the collection from these guarantors was minimal in the scheme of things, and there was evidence to show that the requirement to provide guarantors made student loans inaccessible to many students, in particular students from low-income families. That is why I repeatedly called for the requirement of guarantors to be abolished overall. I'm therefore happy that the minister has finally heeded that call and removed the requirement of guarantors of student loans for everyone. Mr. Speaker, it is yet another example of how good things happen when this government listens to the opposition. And indeed, it shows how much better things will be when the opposition becomes the government. It reminds me of my call in last year's budget, a year ago, for an increase to US $150 in the duty-free allowance for online shoppers, for which a minister later adopted in part when he announced the increase to $100 US at the JLP conference in November. Mr. Speaker, Jamaica needs change in the current approach to economic development, and that is where I'm going to move to now. In the just completed local government elections, the Prime Minister argued that the people must not vote with their emotions. He said they should pay attention to all the positive macroeconomic indicators that mean things are good. He said they should hold on and stay the course, because Jamaica will soon take off. But the people showed with their votes that they are not convinced. They are not convinced because the economic model of this government benefits too few people. Indeed, the people cried out with their ballots that a better way exists and that better must come. Under the current socio-economic model being pursued by this government, inequality of wealth and income will remain entrenched in Jamaican society. Jamaica is 99th in the countries of the world in terms of commitments to reduce inequality, according to Oxfam. In the 2022 World Inequality Index, the wealth gap in Jamaica was shown to be as wide as in Haiti. In Jamaica, the top 1% controlled.
Don't him just say it's sure wide as 80. Me tell you, say we there at 80, you know, must think a joke. Eh? Yeah, man.
20% of national wealth, and the top 10% control 50% of national wealth. The Jamaica Survey of Living Conditions 2021, which is the most current available to us, says that there has been an upward movement in both poverty and inequality under the JLP government. And it says, and I'll quote, the prevalence of poverty increased to 16.7% from 11% in 2019. And that inequality increased with the Gini coefficient, and that is the standard measurement of inequality, at 0.3991, up from 0.3671 in 2019. So I wonder, where in this economic performance has there been any leveraging for the people?
Ah.
With With inflation running hot and the cost of living increasing by 30% since then, the situation, no doubt, the situation remains dire now. In short, the people are feel it, the way your government are deal with it. The minister announced that GDP per capita in Jamaica is now $7,000 US. He didn't mention that GDP per capita data doesn't show inequality. He didn't mention that poverty is 4 times the rate of unemployment in Jamaica. He didn't mention that Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, and Guyana are all at around $20,000 US per capita compared to Jamaica's $7,000. For Jamaica to move our GDP from $7,000 US, where it is now, to $20,000 US over the next 15 years would require an annual real GDP growth of at least 7% per year. I'm going to repeat that. For Jamaica to get our national GDP per capita from 7,000 US, where it is now, to 20,000, which is where Trinidad, Barbados, and Guyana are, over 15 years, it's going to require an annual real GDP growth rate of at least 7% per annum. Until we start to put things in place to achieve that level of inclusive, sustainable growth, the talk of prosperity is a deception and an illusion. Mr. Speaker, there's a concept called economic complexity, which measures the extent to which knowledge drives high value-added economic activity in a country. It's a strong indicator of a country's capacity to achieve higher levels of economic growth. It measures essentially the sophistication of the economy and the linkages within it, using knowledge to drive economic output. There's a chart. I don't know if it can be brought up. There it is. Thank you. Now that chart shows a comparison of 3 countries, and it's taken from the Harvard Economic Complexity Ranking. And it compares economic complexity trends in Jamaica, in the Dominican Republic, and in Costa Rica. And if you look at it, Jamaica is at the bottom on the right. And Jamaica's descent between 2010 and 2021 is indicative of our failure to build a model of socioeconomic development that can transition us from a raw materials and raw services economy to one of a different level of sophistication, producing high value-added goods and services. Mr. Speaker, under the current model being pursued by this government, inequality of wealth and income will remain entrenched in Jamaican society for years to come. We must transition Jamaica from a low-wage, low-tech, low-growth economy to one that achieves high levels of inclusive, sustainable growth that can meet the needs and aspirations of our people. This is a clear metric telling us that change is not only required, but urgent. That's right. We on this side are not deceived. We are on the ground where the people are feeling the pressure. Even though this government likes to tell the people to take responsibility for their actions, it is not very good at taking its own advice. Though the world has moved on, they're still stuck in this trickle-down neoliberal economics, where support is given at the top of the economy and people must wait for prosperity to trickle down to them. That model depends on low wages. That model thrives on low levels of education. It pushes people into things like scamming. It pushes people into hustling for a living. It causes hard-working and unemployed people alike to rely on remittances from their family abroad, and it forces people to migrate. If we are exporting our skills, what are we left with? It depends on people being deceived. But we are not deceived, and we are not the deceivers. Mr. Speaker, it is now quite clear that there's nothing in the minister's budget presentation that suggests that this government has a coherent strategy for achieving a turnaround of that chart. As I have said, wild campaign promises like converting Clarkstown into a city, are mere pie-in-the-sky ideas masquerading as a vision of national development. I will now present some elements of our comprehensive holistic plan for sustainable, inclusive development of Jamaica and our people. Some of the plans for the next Jamaican government that we will form on the road to change. Mr. Speaker, since I last addressed this Honourable House in a budget debate, we have been progressively developing our plans for Jamaica, and they are grounded in our core beliefs of social justice, equality of opportunity and access, and good governance. Last year, in my contribution to this debate, I spoke about some of the prevailing challenges that were at the forefront of the minds of the Jamaican people: constitutional reform and the need for government with integrity were areas that I emphasized. We call upon the government to repair the breach with regard to the expectations of Jamaicans concerning land, education, security for our people, social transformation, health, energy, and food security. We remain true to those core tenets of national development strategy. I was both tactical and practical when I named our new shadow cabinet. I designed a governance structure that is fit for purpose, creating 4 new policy clusters, bringing a solutions-oriented approach to the changes that we need to see in this nation. Then, in preparation for the local government elections, we laid out our agenda for change at the community, division. The people of Jamaica responded positively to change and the change agenda on the 26th of February. That plan, as I've said, is now going to be put in action, and we're putting in place a monitoring and evaluation mechanism to drive that change. Right, Natalie? That's right. At the national level, our policies and programs must be consistent with the core values of our party: social justice, inclusion, transparency, and, as I've said, a commitment to greater equality. We have crafted a raft of practical measures and a national change approach, and it emphasizes communication, care and culturally sensitive implementation, honesty and openness, accessibility and inclusiveness, new policy approaches, good governance, and engaging and empowering all our people. Change. Today I'm going to share a selection of some of those measures, and they stand on 2 pillars: the economic model of the next PNP government and our grounding in and commitment to good governance. The time has come for us to center the needs of the people in a transformational economic model. The time has come for broadening the wealth and ownership base of the society to tackle the chronic scourge of inequality. We must do what is required for high levels of inclusive, sustainable growth to meet the needs and aspirations of our people. The emphasis on inclusive and sustainable growth is important. The fruits of economic expansion must be equitably shared across the society, and the investments must be compatible with our natural assets to preserve our environment for the benefit of future generations. Jamaicans are not interested in economic stability that only trickles down into low growth and diminishing prospects. They want to be able to afford an education, get a decent job, or build a thriving business, and own a home. And that's why we must transition Jamaica from a low-wage, low-tech, low-growth economy. We have to transition from an excessive dependence on remittances to earnings from high-valued exports of goods and services. We must give persons, people, alternative to unlawful economic activities. Indeed, the structure of our economy must nurture public safety rather than criminality. And Everyone must understand that they have a role to play in making a Jamaica that is a nice place to live. This means people must pay their fair share of taxes, and the government must be accountable to the people because it is spending the people's money.
True.
Spending must prioritize access to basic needs, giving people an opportunity for entrepreneurialism to thrive, giving people an education from which they can create new ideas and opportunities, and nurture our indigenous talents. The type of transformation that Jamaica needs will require investment in its people and in possibilities for the people. Mr. Speaker, the major impediments to Jamaica achieving high levels of inclusive, sustainable growth include a failing education system and a training system that is not fit for purpose, which contributes, both of those, to Jamaica's low national productivity. High levels of violent crime, high electricity costs that undermine the competitiveness of our economy,
True.
and insufficient economic diversification that would increase our resilience to the growing threats from climate-related and other external shocks. Mr. Speaker, none of these challenges can be successfully tackled if we do not address the prevailing failures of governance in the country. Until the systems of governance are accountable, transparent, and participatory, dog nyam we supper.
Wow.
Mr. Speaker, I believe that all of us as Jamaicans are responsible for creating the Jamaica we want to see and establishing a liberty of the Jamaicans we want to be. That is why our focus is social cohesion and empowerment. This portfolio cluster will focus on transformation, productivity, and access by addressing the ways in which health and wellness, social transformation, social protection, gender, young people and civil society, persons with disabilities and other marginalized groups will not only be engaged but energized and empowered. Human capital development is highest on our list. It is what we mean when we say we put the people first. It is what we say when we believe in people power. And we balance the books while balancing people's lives. Mr. Speaker, the next PNP government is committed to implementing measures to ensure that Jamaica's human capital has the capacities and skills to participate competitively in a high value-added economic environment, which can support the required investments that build that environment and deliver high levels of inclusive, sustainable growth. The crisis in education and training must be tackled and overcome if this is to be achieved. We see education in a holistic way. The education system should be socializing our people towards the kind of society we want to live in. 100% literacy and numeracy must be the target for national transformation. And there is food insecurity in Jamaica, so we cannot avoid dealing with children's nutrition. The system must invest in teachers, as well as infrastructure and technology, and in supporting services for parenting. We feel no shame about the fact that the majority of our students speak Jamaican, the Jamaican language first, and we think it should be central to how they learn to speak English and other subjects. As Professor Don Robotham recently put it, we must meet our children where they are and teach English as a foreign language it is to many of them. Though we must prioritize the early childhood and primary school system to raise standards there, especially in basic literacy and numeracy, we also believe in tertiary education. And we also believe that education must be lifelong to address gaps and reskilling at the adult levels. In the areas of education and training, these are some of our proposals. We will make investments in teacher training and in teacher compensation, in infrastructure and technology, and in support services for parenting. We will expand and improve the school feeding program to ensure adequate and proper nutrition. To ensure adequate and proper nutrition and to encourage school attendance. We will prioritize the early childhood and primary school system to raise standards, eliminate the major existing literacy and numeracy deficits, because our goal is for Jamaica to have the best early childhood and primary school system in the hemisphere. We will put emphasis on STEAM education across the education system. We are not just going to focus on a few institutions when the system as a whole is deficient in STEAM education. And we will provide one full scholarship for the first child per family for a university degree. And we will remove taxes from laptops and tablets for students.
That needed enough, people. That well needed enough. Yeah, man.
And ensure that every teacher has a laptop.
Yes.
And for our teachers, we'll provide them with student debt. For our teachers, we will provide them with student debt reductions and motor vehicle concessions, which increase with their years of service in the system.
Yeah.
We will provide teachers with enhanced access to National Housing Trust loans and priority in housing allocations in NHT finance schemes.
Yes.
We'll provide teachers with a package deal to be negotiated by government for free internet access as a tool of trade. And for young
people, I could just hold it 1 minute because the one of this is where the Xerox them are play back in. Them are watch it, you know. And they hear them run and then flip something and it. Because Xerox them, you know. I don't know that, you know. Copy of them, you know. Because remember them now have the blueprint. Them that do it long time, 8 years. Them that do them thing a long time. No blueprint. If you hear them come out and say blueprint, wait till a couple months and then fix something. Xerox. Country can run so. Xerox. You have to come out with something and then them copy it and run with it, yeah? Yeah, man, same way.
And for young people, we will incentivize our youth to invest in their education by capping their monthly student loan payments at a reasonable percentage of their actual income. So that in times when the borrower, the student or former student is not working, those payments are deferred and tagged to the back end of their loan without them incurring extra interest or penalties. We will reinvigorate and repurpose HEART to be a major player in a wider project to prepare our workforce for the current and emerging employment opportunities of the 21st century, including by building training partnerships with the private sector. Mr. Speaker, our nation's training capacity must be as relevant and fit for purpose as possible in a rapidly evolving economy that we must build. We will create a series of workforce development training partnerships with the private sector. And the objective is to develop a competitively market-driven approach to training our workforce. This market-driven approach leverages the training capacity of all of the public sector and private tertiary education and training institutions. The objective is to increase the national capacity to deliver a transformational impact to the economy through an upskilled workforce in the shortest possible time.
Good.
We will welcome the participation of trade unions and employer associations in these partnerships. We need all hands on deck to transition our economy.
So no notice though, market you talk about real work now. I not talk about answer to phone and go out selling a Chinese shop and them thing. They might talk about not even
Remember the remittance them I tell us no, you don't want to depend on that. You don't want to depend on it, you know. You want to send something. Can you imagine if they are foreigner you can call when they youth them or anybody from down there and them send something to you who are foreign now. Then you know it's something I want for the country. Don't. Eh? You want real jobs. Right.
To high value added goods and services. Mr. Speaker, HART will support private sector-led investments in training by matching grants of up to 50% of the cost of any employer-identified third-party delivered training program that improves the performance or well-being of the employer's staff.
Good.
And this approval would be automatic up to an amount equal to 90% of that employer's and employees' annual contributions to HART. And if the need is larger, then it can be approved on the basis of some clear, established and transparent priorities. We will provide incentives to encourage employers to establish internship programs that fill the needs of their businesses and industry.
Yeah.
With course offerings of tertiary and skills training institutions. We will utilize school infrastructure, which is often, when outside of school hours, insufficiently used. We'll use school infrastructure to enhance training both to school children and surrounding communities.
Good!
We will entrench.
Hey, a big idea that, you know, because remember after school over, at 2 o'clock it close. Utilize it. People, they can't train at the evening and do things because you have it. You don't have to go rent this and do that. Great idea. You so say Xerox run with that too, you know. They might run with it, you know. Mark me tell you. Because so them stay. Mark my word. All right. Continue.
We will entrench civics education as a core subject in the national curriculum.
Civics back in our school, of course. Of course.
It has started. We will entrench it to equip our students for actual and productive citizenship.
Yes.
With an understanding of the Constitution, an understanding of their rights, their responsibilities as citizens, and social skills based on wholesome values and attitudes.
Thank you, sir. And that's over there, yeah? Family morals and values, attitude. That's over there. The other one I'm going to tell you about shoot, kill. The crab and the one of them. Lock up the youth, them and do foolishness. Now them plan ya. You so you ain't got copy it. Yeah? Yeah, man.
We will build, Mr. Speaker, we will build the teachings of the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey into the school curriculum.
Get it up?
At all levels, on an age-appropriate basis, to encourage self-belief, personal responsibility, and self-actualization in our nation's youth. We will establish a National Research and Development Council, bringing all relevant institutions together from within the state, academia, the private sector, trade unions, to develop and monitor and evaluate a national R&D strategy. And we will provide an accelerated write-off for taxes of expenditure on research and development to encourage greater private investment in innovation that ties agriculture to manufacturing, science, technology, and advances the labor force. Mr. Speaker, human capital development is directly linked to citizen security. It is about developing an aware, thoughtful, and thinking society that can access a wide range of opportunities, locally and indeed globally, with not only the skills, but also the values and attitudes that promote national development. Mr. Speaker, the very high levels of violent crime in our country continue to demoralize our nation. It discourages investment. It increases the public costs of medical care, and it reduces our capacity to achieve high levels of inclusive, sustainable economic growth. I have emphasized that we see education and training as a means to reduce the levels of violence and crime in our society. And I'm making the broader point that to make Jamaica a safe country in which to...
Yeah, education and training, some man did that though. Because of course,
You always have crime and thing, but this eliminate a lot of that. Yeah, no kill out the youth, them you can move a country forward. If you buy a weapon of mass destruction and destroy the youth, them. I phone the youth, them are destroying. See, you remember the video I showed today? With Google Gaga and them thing. Remember when I showed the thing I showed, it's like Google Gaga. I told them I show it this morning. I think it come on TVJ now, because the youth must come from back walk, but them take out and put on the man and kill him. Execute him, the police. Them thing they must go on. The police just send it to me. So the same video I'm showing now where them execute the youth. Yes. Execute. Answer a shootout to you know. And them find gun with magazine with cover gun. Shootout, because them never see the video. That's why I said video for up every. Them for go to prison, you know. You hear name right now and everything. Them for go to prison. I'm show it a morning. This bad. Only for go to prison. And I will Google Gaga with them foolishness. Take the youth and put him and him. Remember him kneel long and them shoot him. Look on the video when I say Google Gaga a garbage. This man when the man hand it over. The video that I show. The one with the soldier keep the woman, I hear nothing but I wonder when they execute the youth. Them say a shootout. Youth fire for them and them this and that and that. Clear. You see when them have him and push him down and go kill him. Yes. So TVJ must carry things that now. You know me always have the thing when I get them, I tell they say execution. That them have to go to prison for that, you know, because when I start pressure them, you know. Yeah? Alright. Cool.
Live, work, raise families, and do business. A different approach must be taken to national security. Or as we have started to call it, to citizen security, coupled with a concerted thrust for social transformation. We prefer to think about citizen security because it forces us to think of people's needs. Our people deserve respect. It shows us, for instance, that road safety is a citizen security issue. If roads are potholed and motorists are forced to swerve as a result, all people using the roads are at risk. So it affects security. If street lights don't work, it compromises women's.
True that, you know, because the patrol and them thing that it affect everybody. I might tell you that that's true. Yeah, this
sense of security. And if militarization is the way forward, we will see more and more videos of masked policemen with long guns hauling and intimidating citizens. And that's not the Jamaica we want. We cannot build a future and a nation by locking down underserved communities. The better way is to make Jamaica safe for all.
True, man!
By a progressive approach to citizen security. And I'm going to share with you some of our proposals for making Jamaica a safe society for us all. We will revitalize the Peace Management Initiative.
True, man.
Through the Peace Management Initiative, we want to build a network in all of the violence-prone communities across the country, rolling out restorative justice, mediation, and other conflict resolution techniques at the community level.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, 100, man. Thank you, 1,000,000, man. Can't kill have to get a youth, them, man. Need it.
We will train and empower at least 500 violence interrupters across Jamaica. We'll partner with the private sector and other stakeholders to expand Project STAR, which they have initiated, and make it into a truly national program, including things like access to training, mentorship, remedial education, and job placements for youth at risk.
Thank you.
We will enact legislation that targets known vicious purveyors of criminal violence across Jamaica and brings them to justice, including through a court-supervised process of pre-charge detention that targets persons on whom there's credible intelligence to facilitate building viable cases that can result in a successful prosecution. Due process is critical here, and that is why it must be a court-supervised process. And, Mr. Speaker, we will bring much greater focus on reforming the prison system to reduce the high level of recidivism. In other words, people who offend are imprisoned. When they're released, they offend again and come back into prison. That is recidivism. We need to reduce the high level of recidivism, which is very high in Jamaica, some 40%, I believe, by rehabilitating offenders to become productive citizens.
Thank you, sir.
Reoffenders.
Thank you, sir. No, you know, just X them out and get rid of them. No. Them can't a human being them to man. This me I talk about. Yeah, man.
When they return to society, every Jamaican has an interest in a prison system that rehabilitates prisoners and makes them productive citizens. We're fooling ourselves if we think that we can just ignore that, let the prisons run in the way they currently run, and solve our national security problem.
Thank you.
We will provide the police force with the vehicles, equipment, and training that they need to efficiently respond and investigate and prosecute offenders. We will build out the Jamaica Eye system of cameras to enhance citizen security and ensure greater accountability for criminal behavior. It is an important part of making Jamaica safe.
Good.
And we will
criminal
provide mental
behavior.
health support.
See me just tell them about the criminal behavior. I'm showing you the video. When Google got them assassinate, them eliminate the young man. I know them I tell lies and shoot out. When you see them have him and everything, how much of them and them talk to him and put him for kneel long. You can't get no more execution than that, man. And it catch on camera enough of this one. I tell you enough of this one. You can't have criminal with badge and gun doing these things in the country. A time for them, hey, let me tell you, hey, if this don't stop, hey, them forget, the whole of them forget charge, you know. What did they do, you know? All of them, you know. So somebody say that police brethren just send it, come give me. TVJ carry it. I carry it back a morning. Can I show you it? On the video I do earlier on today. They show no. But that's the one before the soldier kick. They use to them assassinate, they eliminate. They show on it. Google are the worst thing to, you know. Google guy, you know. They do publicity stunt to try to big him up him for go in, man. Yeah, man.
Including adequate rest to our law enforcement officers to help them cope with the difficulties of their line of work here in Jamaica. And we will partner with non-governmental organizations to support well-designed and sustainable community-based interventions that focus on anger management,
good
parenting skills, conflict resolution, and overall civility.
Well, I want that the crab get me and John Dime nose, man. You see the crab have me and John Dime nose. It look like the crab did have chicken pox. Cause that look like shingle going down face, you know. Yes.
And I'm substantially increased.
See that look there? It make it favor it like a red mark there, like a shingle down. Don't start grow. You see it? Look under the look when you see the crab, look under the crab nose. You know, look like a mark, like so maybe it go across all them face. Yeah? Yeah, man, you know, see that crab get shingle, man. Eh? Like the command. You see it, right? Yeah, man. Continue.
The number of social workers to take on these critical tasks and build social cohesion within communities. This is a balanced approach to dealing with citizen security, and it is essential. Without it, we are not going to get the results that we need. Mr. Speaker, we recognize that crime and other socially negative behaviors in Jamaica emerge from the imbalanced structure of our society. This is why we prioritize social justice and workers' rights as an essential part of the role of government. As a society with a history of oppression of our people, we must be ever mindful of the need to build healthy employment relations. That includes how government treats the civil service. Government must set the example for how all other employers treat workers. And at a most basic level, we will approach all negotiations with the public sector workers with respect, openness, and a spirit of partnership. The government has been boasting about low unemployment, but many of these jobs are below the International Labour Organization standards for decent work. Many young people are frustrated and are no longer looking for a job. Low unemployment exists alongside high underemployment, with hundreds of thousands of Jamaicans of working age staying outside the workforce, unwilling to work for wages that cannot sustain them with a decent quality of life. We see workers across the economy working for years under fixed-term contracts And the government will not address this structural inequity affecting the labour market. We have a labour market reform report which focuses on productivity improvements, and it has been left in file 13. We need to advance from a minimum wage system to a livable wage system. Tied to increased productivity to be sustainable. The next PNP government will introduce structural reforms that balance the interests of workers and employers to bring about productivity, equity, and decent work. Our government will seek to ensure that the workers of Jamaica are respected and their rights are protected. And I'm going to share some of our proposals with you. As I've said, we will approach all negotiations with the public sector workers and their representatives with respect, openness, and a spirit of partnership. We will enact comprehensive legislation to eliminate abusive contractual arrangements which circumvent employment rights right across the economy.
Yes.
The government is going through a slow and incremental process of eliminating this practice from the public sector. And it was thrust on the government by the ruling of the court, which affected security guards. But that is incrementalism and is not enough. Many, many workers outside of the government service, the public sector, are affected by this problem. We will ensure equal treatment of all workers, regardless of the legal form of their contracts. We will pursue the establishment of joint industrial councils in those industries where there are high levels of employment, but there's no common standard for working conditions and there's no union representation. The security guard industry, the tourism industry, the global services BPO, those industries are cases in point where a joint industrial council would really move things forward. We'll review the incentives legislation for employee share ownership plans to make it user-friendly and easy to comply with and administer, followed by a promotional exercise to encourage Jamaican firms to establish employee share ownership plans, which align employer and employee interests and create wealth for their workers at all levels, from the bearer right up to the CEO. And I've had personal experience at the consistent empowerment and enrichment that workers can benefit from through employee share ownership plans. We will establish a commission to examine the dire situation now faced by communities in the former sugar areas, and to develop a comprehensive plan for the economic revitalization of those areas. And we've seen in the sugar belts across the country where sugar has atrophied with nothing to replace it, and what has in fact replaced it is scamming on other activities and high levels of violent crime. We need to do something about that. And we will put in place proper and dignified relocation arrangements for the families of former sugar workers. We have seen too many cases where they're not being treated fairly, in Innswood and so on, where they're being moved off the land without any proper arrangements being made to house them. These priority areas will be built out using social transformation and social protection interventions, techniques, and measures linked into health and wellness strategies. They will be informed by gender considerations and directly address the needs of persons with disabilities, with inclusion being a guiding principle. Social cohesion and empowerment drive sustainable economic development. Productivity. Productivity thrives where people feel safe, secure, and motivated. Productivity, in turn, drives diversification and growth, building our existing productive sectors and enabling new ones to emerge in an inclusive and sustainable growth path for Jamaica. Mr. Speaker, we need a sound approach to economic management if we're to achieve sustainable economic development. It requires continuing along the fiscal responsibility path that we have established jointly over the years, and it has to be maintained by bipartisan support. And we are committed to ensuring that the gains that Jamaica has made in stabilizing its public finances are permanently kept for future generations. I spoke to this earlier, and our shadow spokesman of finance dealt with it extensively in his budget presentation last Thursday. Sustainable economic development will require transitioning Jamaica, as I've said, to one where high-value goods and services are delivered to domestic and export markets. And I want to share some practical steps that can be taken in that direction, beginning with food security. Mr. Speaker, the government is not serious about agriculture and food security, and it is reflected in the estimates of expenditure that were tabled. Critical areas are being neglected. Farm roads expenditure has been reduced. Extension services, which provide guidance to farmers, is flat. Technical support is being decreased. And most importantly, research and development only gets a 2.7% increase, which is way below inflation. The allocation for irrigation, which supports the National Irrigation Commission, is also flat, while Essex Valley and Southern Plains projects are coming to an end, having undergone numerous extensions. Examples of areas for growth in agriculture include supporting research and activities like extracting oils, and flavors, developing value-added products from our agricultural produce, and capturing economic potential from waste from harvesting. The quality of our produce is world-renowned, and is part of our overall creative product in the country. We're also sorely disappointed by the direction that the medicinal and therapeutic ganja industry has been taken since the PNP government decriminalized its use in 2015 and created a platform for a new lawful industry to emerge. Our cannabis sector must be developed in a way that is far more inclusive for small farmers. Who now find themselves marginalized and excluded. That was never the philosophy when we did this, and I'm very disappointed by the way it's played out. We're going to have to give it some special attention when we form government. The next PNP government will be focused on genuinely increasing exports, strengthening food security in Jamaica, expanding irrigation and research capabilities in the agricultural sector. And we're going to brand this the SMART program, Sustainable Management of Agriculture through Research and Technology. SMART.
Whoa, we out.
With the limited land space available in Jamaica and a growing population that we need to feed, we must find the right synergies between increased food production and sustaining the natural environment. Our housing programs will not compromise the most fertile and irrigated lands, as this government has done at Bernard Lodge. There are some proposals under the SMART program that I want to mention. We will manage the sector through increased training of our youth, with a focus on agricultural training institutions such as 4-H clubs and the extension services offered through RADA. We will increase the productivity of our farmers through introduction of improved climate-smart farming systems and technology to drive farming operations. We'll expand and repair the farm road network to enable our farmers to access their farms and transport their produce to market. We'll engage our major private sector players in the poultry and agricultural processing and milk and livestock production to create the enabling environment that they require so they can expand their already significant contribution to the economy. We'll partner with the UWI and other technical institutions to engage in research that will boost productivity. The College of Agricultural Science and Education, CASE, must be given the financial resources to do the necessary research that will assist our farmers to produce at a consistently high quality. And in fact, the next PNP administration intends to upgrade CASE to a university to enhance the focused institutional support required for a thrust to greater food security in the country. We will boost our own research facilities at Bodles and Orange River and Montpelier to provide innovations that our farmers require to grow the sector. We will make the best planting stock animal genetics and farming systems in animal husbandry and agronomy available to our farmers. We'll increase the use of drones, RFID technology, hydroponic farming systems, solar-operated irrigation pumps, and in-field monitoring of soil fertility to boost our production and increase productivity. And we will strengthen the laws to protect our farmers from agricultural theft, bringing those offenses under the Proceeds of Crime Act regime so that the profits can be taken away from criminals who reap what our farmers sow. Mr. Speaker, our goal is for agriculture and agro-industries to contribute at least 10 to 12% of Jamaica's GDP, transforming rural development, providing sustainable employment across the country, and guaranteeing our nation's food security. This is why we are adamant that our concerns regarding the removal of GCT from imported foods be immediately reviewed, reconsidered, and the initiatives that we proposed earlier be put into action. Mr. Speaker, I now turn to a number of emerging industries and some of our plans for their development. Like our spokesperson on finance explained, energy, broadband, and internet access are all central considerations for advancing inclusive and sustainable economic growth. Jamaica's fixed broadband population penetration of 15% in 2022 ranks Jamaica at the lower end of internet penetration and adoption when compared to other countries in the Caribbean. Our fixed broadband subscription is lower than the Cayman, Trinidad, and Grenada. We will prioritize investments and initiatives to bridge the digital divide. To ensure that all Jamaican citizens have access to affordable and reliable internet services. This will require investment in building a robust digital infrastructure and expanding access to high-speed internet connectivity, a process which has already started and which needs to be accelerated. By achieving digital connectivity right across the country, Jamaica can create a level playing field for persons to access online education, remote work opportunities, and digital services, thereby enabling them to participate fully in an increasingly digital economy. We also intend to expand partnerships with telecoms companies to deploy broadband networks in underserved areas, providing incentives to encourage adoption of digital technologies in low-income households. Mr. Speaker, the emergence of artificial intelligence, AI, as a new frontier of technological advancement is already having a massive global impact on commerce and indeed life in general. And this is only going to intensify in years to come. We're really at the very beginning of the effects of AI on our lives. Jamaica therefore needs to prepare itself for the positive and negative effects of AI technology so we can benefit from its massive potential for greater efficiency and competitiveness and mitigate the serious risks of misrepresentation and fraud that come with AI. The next PNP administration will develop and introduce an AI-related curriculum and digital literacy programs from primary school through to tertiary education. By equipping students with foundational skills in coding, data analysis, and critical thinking, we will cultivate a new generation of AI-savvy individuals who are well prepared for the jobs of the future. We have to embrace the present in a way that will prepare our people for the future. We will also introduce adult education and skills training programs to upskill and reskill the existing workforce so that Jamaican citizens aren't left behind as automation and AI technologies reshape the labor market. And the issue of internet penetration is also tied to the distribution of digital technology. It impacts the growth of the cluster of emerging industries that we have identified for priority attention: global logistics, cultural creative industries, sports, our environmental and ecological heritage, and community tourism. These are industries that we think have tremendous potential. As with agriculture, this government has not demonstrated its seriousness about the development of cultural and creative industries or sports. The absence of a development plan for culture and the creative industries after 8 years and the barely touched national sports policy that we left behind bear witness to this. Mr. Speaker, the One Love phenomenon, now blowing like a natural mystic across the globe, shows us what cultural and creative practitioners have been telling us for years. Nurturing and growing the cultural and creative industries, sports, and their diverse ecosystems is extremely important for economic development and for cultural identity in Jamaica. This requires the funding and deliberate effort to drive these industries, which are two of the fastest growing areas of economic activity in the world. In this year's budget, $234 million is allocated to the Jamaican Screen Development Initiative, and we endorse that. The government has identified 2 entertainment spaces. They say they've identified them. One of them has been identified long ago, and one of them was used for entertainment from long ago. But it's a good start after many years of inaction. We commit that when we are in government, we'll prioritize the participatory development of a master plan comprising a comprehensive policy and legislative framework to support and incentivize the cultural and creative industries and sports. The plan will address investment and finance, education and training, infrastructure development for cultural and creative persons, practitioners, and also sports practitioners. Existing infrastructure for the cultural and creative industries and sports are falling apart island-wide. The Trelawney Sports Centre, Independence Park, Catherine Hall, Sabina Park, the Little Theatre, Ward Theatre, Vale Royal, and other existing and potential heritage sites are disintegrating from neglect. How come? Change is sorely needed. Mr. Speaker, in the area of tourism, we are committed to trying to broaden the benefits flowing to our people from the massive investments that have taken place in tourism. Indeed, we're spending $4 billion advertising sun, sea, and sand. And we think that the government should direct some of these resources to developing and promoting community tourism, cultural industries, sports, ecotourism, and craft. For example, a round-robin series of reggae arts and cultural festivals across the island at various dates throughout the year would directly boost community incomes as part of our integrated plan. And it can be done through the municipal corporations to encourage community development. In other words, community tourism for community development. And that type of community tourism activity would produce revenue for the local authorities and help them to deliver services at a higher level to their communities. And this approach promotes greater economic inclusion. It's a glimpse of what holistic implementation across these important emerging sectors could look like, promoting sustainable economic development. While the existing enclave model of tourism generates wealth for that sector, it is not sufficiently impacting the communities in proximity to the enclaves. Though we hear the boasts of record tourism arrivals, we hear very little on why it seems not to elevate communities across Jamaica. And Mr. Speaker, at this point, I want to say one commitment that I have, which is in keeping with our seriousness about culture and the creative industries. When we form the next government, I commit to conferring the Order of National Hero on the Honorable Robert Nesta Marley.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because them are going to hey.
For his service of a most distinguished nature in advancing Jamaican culture and his global impact as a liberating, inspirational force for oppressed people across the world. I say, time come to recognize the Gang as a true national hero and confer an honor on him accordingly. Mr. Speaker, I now turn to measures to make real our commitment to the development of infrastructure and human amenities. The vexed issue of energy costs in Jamaica needs to be addressed. They are way too high, and they are another structural impediment to economic transformation. We have some proposals to ensure a viable and sustainable electricity system and to bring down electricity costs to consumers and businesses. We'll undertake a massive regularization support drive for electricity connections, including a subsidy to help families meet the costs of rewiring, inspection, and certification. And we will provide these families with solar panels to help them manage their energy costs going forward and build climate sustainability. We'll roll out a national energy efficiency, natural lighting, and passive cooling program financed by local, regional, and international development banks and private risk capital. The objective here is to achieve an average 50% reduction in residential energy consumption and costs with a very short payback of a few years. We'll prioritize achieving our renewable energy target of 33% by 2030. This government has failed to issue regular renewable energy RFPs, requests for proposals. Indeed, they've only issued one in the last 8 years. That is an indictment on their management of the economy. These RFPs generate fee income for the government, and the capital required to implement these wind, solar, hydro, and waste-to-energy projects is privately funded. We intend to issue utility-scale RFPs every 2 to 3 years to reach the renewable energy target. And Mr. Speaker, we will review the tax system affecting the energy sector to ensure that it incentivizes investments in efficiency and cost-reducing replacement and expansion of the sector, in keeping with our policy priorities to reduce Jamaica's carbon footprint. Making real change for our people requires much greater attention to water, roads, and works. The local government elections made this clear. All governance is about prioritization, especially when resources are limited, and they're always limited. What governments prioritize determines the kind of society we're building, and it tells us what the future will look like. We believe that over the next decade, public capital expenditure must prioritize investments to improve the production, distribution, and harvesting of water, and rehabilitating the minor road and farm road networks across Jamaica. These are dominant demands of the people, and the government must answer to the people. The National Water Commission, the NWC, purports to supply 73% of the population with water, which means that over 25% of our population is not served by the public water supply system. And private water companies don't close that gap in communities where the NWC is not providing water. That's what they say. There needs to be a major thrust to build connectivity among the network of pumping stations and other elements that make up Jamaica's water supply system, so that water can be efficiently distributed from where it is abundant to where there's a lack of supply. And that requires achieving a high level of cohesion among the various state agencies that have responsibility for different aspects of the system. And we have to focus on achieving that. It is unacceptable that slightly over $1 billion is slated for water supply projects this year, given the water storage issues that we've been facing over the last several years, and anticipated droughts with climate change, and the constant cries of the people for water. Meanwhile, the NWC has made announcements of a plan to develop 577 acres in Norbrook, a watershed area at that. One really has to wonder about their priorities. We welcome the public-private partnership that was announced, that is to we're told, will supply 15 million gallons a day from St. Catherine to serve the Kingston metropolitan area, Portmore, and Spanish Town, as long as the commercial terms are fairly balanced to protect the public. We don't want a sweetheart deal at the expense of the public. This project is slated to begin in 25-26, i.e. a year out from now, I believe, according to the Public Investment Program. One is left to wonder why it's taking 3 years since the agreement was signed to start the work on such an urgent project. But what of pipe water to the rest of Jamaica? And what of plans to secure our natural water resources across Jamaica in an era of intensifying climate change? I move to roads. The last 3 decades have witnessed significant investment in the development of highways. And that was a good thing. Absolutely. North Coast Highway Project, Highway 2000, the North-South Link, and Southern Coastal Project, and so on. In the meantime, interior roads, community roads, on which most of our people have to drive on a daily basis, are in an appalling condition. Project Spark is an effort to start addressing this problem, but we have serious doubts as to the approach that's being taken, given our negative experience with the constituency allocation for roads in 2022, which many MPs have reported are still yet to come through. The last PNP administration established a secretariat for GEEP with the technical personnel to efficiently drive the infrastructure projects executed under that program and to ensure proper accountability for the expenditure under the program, which was a great success. We commend that model to the government so that we don't want Project Spark to burn out without achieving significant improvement to the minor road network. Mr. Speaker, I move to health and wellness. There are several green papers, audits, and reviews within the Ministry of Health and Wellness that clearly outline the dilapidated state of the public health system.
True.
Even without resorting to these sources, there is a travel advisory issued by the U.S. State Department advising of the poor state of our hospitals and the prohibitive costs associated with accessing private health care. And this is borne out by the constant cries of the users of the public health system and the frustration of the healthcare providers themselves, often manifested in industrial unrest and protests. And even now there are murmurings of unrest in some sectors of the health service. One therefore has to wonder what guides the priorities for expenditure in the annual budget for the Ministry of Health and Wellness. With a capital budget of $11 billion, nearly twice that of education, one would expect clear efforts to decrease inefficiencies, to improve the overall experience of accessing the public health system, and to address the major health threats affecting Jamaicans. However, these major threats of chronic non-communicable diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, and cancer have been, to an extent, sidelined in favor of massive spend on infrastructure concentrated in 3 hospitals. The massive cost overrun in the Cornwall Regional Hospital will go down as the greatest project cost variation in the history of Jamaica at a staggering 1,100%. Never before has any Jamaican alive or dead seen a project move from an estimated cost to completion of less than $2 billion and end up costing more than 10 times that amount at over $20 billion. And this figure is expected to rise further as the completion date is pushed farther away. The only person who predicted it accurately was Morris Guy, the member for Central St. Mary. It is telling that no one has been held accountable for this debacle. The Minister of Health has been bemoaning the lack of local expertise in hospital construction, but he's nevertheless decided to begin the construction of 2 new facilities at the UHWI and Spanish Town. We wonder what the logic is behind that when the English-speaking Caribbean's largest community of Portmore still doesn't have a public hospital. And in the western region is still struggling without a fully operational Cornwall Regional Hospital. And when the major parishes are without a facility that has basic diagnostic equipment, and in major urban areas there's an economically unsound reliance on using private facilities for public patients, transported in scarcely available ambulances. With this budget, users of the public health system will continue to suffer from prolonged waiting times, overcrowded emergency rooms, inadequate hospital beds, and overworked and demotivated staff who can't wait for the next recruiter for a way out. Like the census, immunization rates are well below targets, and the maternal mortality rate is at its highest level in over 50 years. The maternal mortality rate in Jamaica is at its highest levels in over 50 years. No budgetary changes to deal with these problems. Mr. Speaker, something is wrong here. I move to housing, land, and sustainable living.
Yes.
Land and shelter remain important national priorities. On the minds of hardworking Jamaicans is the question, will they ever be able to enjoy the security of being able to own a piece of land or a house? Using data from the 2022 Voluntary National Review Report of the 2030 Agenda and the SDGs, we know that in 2019, over 100,000 fewer Jamaicans rented or lived in their own home than in 2007. 100,000 fewer Jamaicans. 30% of households were either living rent-free with the owner's consent, what Jamaicans would call cotching, or they were occupying premises without the legal owner's consent. That represented an increase of 10 percentage points over the preceding decade. If you live in a major urban center, you are most concerned about the fact that the price of housing built under this JLP government is out of reach for most people.
True.
Shelter is one of the basic needs of our people. In the Jamaican historical and socioeconomic context, it requires a proactive policy by the state to provide affordable housing for our people. The People's National Party understands this. It is what motivated us to develop Portmore, the largest residential community in the English-speaking Caribbean, and so many other major schemes, Harbour View, Mona Heights, Frontier Heights, and a plethora of other housing developments across the island. It is why, in 1976, the Most Honourable Michael Manley established a National Housing Trust to provide affordable housing for Jamaicans. It is why the Most Honourable P.J. Patterson in the 1990s established a program called Operation Pride to provide land and housing for citizens, which despite its challenges, delivered over 50,000 titled lots for people in Pines of Karachi, Mount Edgecombe, Melrose Mews, Bedworth Gardens, Bel Air, and a host of other communities. And similarly, the Most Honourable Portia Simpson Miller embarked on an initiative to remove barracks housing and provide houses for sugar workers to live in dignity. In stark contrast, this government has built a mere 200 social houses, one dege since 2016, a paltry average of 25 housing units per year. And it presided over the demolition of poor people's houses in Clifton and St. Catherine and sought to evict 65 settled families from their homes in the widest Vale. In truth and in fact, the cost of housing is out of reach to ordinary Jamaicans, with a 2-bedroom unit on the market costing over $20 million, while the NHT only provides up to $9 million to a contributor to purchase a home. The NHT has been financially weakened by the government's continued extraction of $11.4 billion every year to finance the budget of the government since 2016. After the 2013 to 2016 IMF program ended, we had put that in place for 4 years, when we had a mountain of debt to get Jamaica out of, and we had a very high primary surplus target. It was never supposed to be extended. The recent decision to require NHT contributors earning over $31,000 a week to borrow from private financial institutions flows from that extraction of resources for so many years now since this government came to power. And whereas contributors to NHT have been charged interest rates of 5% by the NHT, private financial institutions are charging around 9% now. And the NHT is having to subsidize those private financial institutions for the difference in those rates. And that's going to further weaken the institution. Jamaica needs change, and we are on the road to change. We recognize that the police, the soldiers, the teachers, the nurses, civil servants, young professionals need access to affordable housing. So that must be the road to change. And some of our proposals include, we will repurpose the NHT to ensure that it focuses on the building of affordable housing. We will end the extraction of $11.4 billion a year from the NHT for the government's budget and put this money into building affordable houses for our people. We will provide targeted and well-designed incentives for developers to get into the construction of affordable housing so that more of our population can afford to acquire a home using their NHT benefits. And we will complete the unfinished Operation Pride schemes so that the residents enjoy the full benefits of what was started for them. And we will launch a new program based on a similar concept, but with a robust and transparent accountability structure to tackle the deep problem of informal settlements across Jamaica and bring dignified housing in organized communities to our citizens. Mr. Speaker, I move to the issue of good governance because it is the second pillar of the road to change, good governance. When it comes to governance, one thing is certain. Things cannot be allowed to remain the way they are now. That is why I have identified an entire cluster of portfolios within our own governance structure to address the now desperate area of transparency and accountable governance. And this is where change is truly required. I move to the focus on social justice first. A robust social justice agenda is necessary for achieving high levels of inclusive, sustainable economic growth. If Jamaica is to become a socially cohesive society that moves away from negative behaviors and attitudes that undermine our mission to achieve national greatness. Deepening social justice is an important part of this objective, and I'm going to give you some of our proposals. We will implement a progressive beach access policy.
Access beach policy.
Reasonable access to Jamaica's beaches, as is done in other Caribbean islands that also enjoy a strong tourism industry. Beach access is important for our people's recreation and leisure in a stressful world. This is no small thing, given the levels of violence and stress in this society. We will work with all stakeholders, including communities which have historically used beaches for recreation and fishing, and also tourism interests, to secure appropriate rights of access for the public to be able to enjoy our beaches. And if necessary, we will use legislation to protect the public's interest in having reasonable beach access while protecting the legitimate commercial interests of business owners. This is not an issue which the state can just stand back and leave as is. Time come. While we endorse the raising of the threshold for the income tax on pensions, the truth is that our pensioners are really struggling and much more is needed to be done for them. Administrative changes to facilitate the speedy commencement of pension payments to retired employees is impatient of debate. They have to wait for extended periods before they can start getting their pension. And we have other creative proposals for expanding pension benefits to relieve the suffering of our pensioners, which I will share on another occasion. We will complete the outstanding review of the Domestic Violence Act and move quickly to implement the recommendations arising from that review. And our intention is to establish support centers in every parish to provide safe havens for survivors of domestic violence and other gender-based violence. We will enact legislation to empower the public defender to bring legal proceedings, which he can't currently do, to defend the rights of vulnerable Jamaicans, and expand the scope of the Office of the Public Defender to become a national human rights institution to monitor and report on Jamaica's performance in respecting the rights of our citizens. That institution, I had done all the preparatory work for that as Minister of Justice. 8 years later, nothing has happened. We will complete the long outstanding process of enacting legislation to enable Jamaica to accede to the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court, which is a missing element in the current accountability framework. I had started that process as well. I don't hear nothing about it. We need to have accountability for the most dire forms of crime that leaders can commit. We will expand the legal aid system in partnership with the legal profession to include constitutional and civil matters, so people can get help to access their rights in important areas of their lives, including property matters, estate matters, personal injury cases, and employment matters. We will support the MSMEs, micro, small, medium-sized enterprises, and startups, so that formalizing their businesses is attractive, welcoming, and easy. We have a model for special economic zones of incentives. What about the SME sector? Why shouldn't they get a similar ecosystem of benefits to encourage people to formalize and start businesses? We will do that. We will enact legislation to require the banks to provide a minimum suite of basic financial services to customers without charging fees. And that their cost of doing that will be treated as part of the annual cost of having the privilege of operating a bank and their licensing. And we will enforce minimum service standards to ensure that customers have ready access to ATMs to withdraw and deposit money, especially in underserved areas where banks have been closing branches. Time come to protect our people who are not being served adequately by the banking sector. And we will use the legislation governing ganja to create a special ecosystem for the Rastafari community. And we want to economically empower the Rastafari community, and that is a matter close to my heart as the architect of the PNP's 2015 decriminalization of ganja. There are provisions in the law for regulations to be made to achieve that, and they're not being used. Making change through social justice leads to a serious reconsideration of Jamaica's current place and standing in the world. Mr. Speaker, our international policy position centers on the principle of being good neighbors to all while maintaining our sovereignty and independence. That guides our relationship with the global family of nations. We steadfastly maintain the right to exercise independent judgment and make independent decisions based on the principles that we embrace. We will continue to work towards strengthening our relationships with the global South, even as we maintain long-standing relationships with our traditional partners. Our trade with the African continent and its large and rapidly expanding economies remains very modest. The top 5 economies in terms of growth are South Africa, Nigeria, Egypt, Algeria, and Ethiopia. And we have long historical connections with the fast-growing economies of Ghana and Sierra Leone. There are therefore tremendous opportunities for us to build out new trade and investment linkages with Africa. Jamaica needs to stop dithering and ratify the historic $1.5 billion agreement between CARICOM and the African Exim Bank. And we are committed regionalists, so the dire situation in our close neighbor Haiti is of great concern to us. We commit ourselves fully to engagement in the regional efforts associated with that crisis and to reasserting Jamaica's constructive leadership role within CARICOM that has been allowed to atrophy over the past 8 years. A progressive, principled foreign policy delivers real positive change for our people. The Petro-Caribe oil financing arrangement and the San Jose Accord, which financed Portmore, are striking examples of what a progressive, principled foreign policy has done for our people in the past under the People's National Party. And that is what we are committed to locally and globally. Mr. Speaker, change at the national level must focus on good governance. In this modern era of pervasive information sharing and communications, good governance is increasingly essential to maintain the people's trust and confidence in our democracy. Citizens are demanding that their leaders uphold the highest standards of accountability, transparency, and trustworthiness. All the measures that I've outlined for implementation will only be possible if we change the approach to governance that now exists. I'll leave you with the ways, means, quality, and spirit of the change in governance that we commit to. And good governance isn't just a set of ideals. It is the foundation upon which an equitable and just society can be built. Yes. The People's National Party has always been committed to fulfilling these ideals, and we will translate these principles into tangible actions that uplift and empower every member of our society. Mr. Speaker, we are in an increasingly low trust environment. Since the JLP government came to office in 2016, no less than 8 ministers have been forced to resign or have been otherwise sanctioned for a range of serious breaches, and Jamaica continues to rank poorly on international corruption indices. The move in 2020 to take away the chairmanship of most parliamentary committees from the opposition has weakened that mechanism of holding government to account. The maneuvers to delay the tabling of reports from the Auditor General and the Integrity Commission remains a contentious matter, especially since the legal opinion on which this delay is purportedly based has been withheld from parliamentarians and the wider public. When the former Speaker was forced to resign as a result of an Integrity Commission investigation, the move to replace her with the wife of the Prime Minister, so that the head of Parliament is now the spouse of the head of government, really does not sit well with the tradition that the Speaker must act independently of the government of the day. The Speaker is intended to be independent and must act independently of the government of the day. That is the tradition. That is the tradition.
You're low and desperate.
The failure.
Lower your backside. Go away. Go low.
The failure. Mr. Speaker.
Members.
Yeah, low. Watch out. Look out. Lucky G, I get him the look, you know. Watch out. You watch him. Oh, Prime Minister walkout. I'm Lucky G must go sit down with him. Go on, man. And them all have fun out. Look there. Eh?
Mr. Speaker. The failure to identify the so-called illicit 6 MPs.
Go outside.
Go outside.
Go outside. Go outside. Pay him outside.
Go outside.
Outside, pay him outside. Go outside. Prime Minister fire you. Go outside.
The Prime Minister fire you.
Outside.
Fire you. Go outside.
Go outside. Hey. People, no, on a serious note. Queenie, enough, you know. Queenie, you not like you know, like, but you have a get a dog them. And you see them and they run, come to your house, you know, your veranda, you know, you just clean with little genie floor polish. You might just clean the place and them thing then when you look at the dog in a mud run coming here, you go outside. And maybe if you go out, move, go outside. You might go outside for them mouth side. And them fire him, as a Trevor. Them fire him, man. Eh? Come like we get a dog them, you know, go outside. You never run and get a dog, get man, run, come touch up your house, man. Them foot. Rain fall and them run in your place. Eh? You go outside. You're outside. That's where you run, come on. Eh? Queenie, see running back again, you know, look here.
failure to disclose the identity of the so-called illicit 6 MPs who are under investigation by the Integrity Commission for illicit enrichment remains.
Member.
Go outside.
At this time.
Go outside. Them outside. Go outside.
The Prime Minister fire you. Go outside.
Go outside.
At this time.
The Prime Minister fire you.
Number.
Go outside, man. I am outside. Go outside. Go outside. I am outside. What's bushrat? Eh? Go outside, man. Yeah, man.
I will not continue in this. So I'm asking members to be quiet.
Go outside.
Thank you.
I'm outside. Go outside. Prime Minister fire boy and half your mouth.
Section 7.
We don't want you know section. Don't want us to go outside. Go outside. Prime Minister fire you. People, Andrew can come back. What am I doing? Sit down, you know. You know, so them are what we talk about every day. Go in by him word, the Prime Minister. So him do him and come and him go and twist and thing and talk about corruption. When you talk about anything of corruption, him run as a Prime Minister and carry them with him. So he said the whole of them are minions. Them are minions. Them not good. Them figure away. You understand? Them mash up the country now. You hear Sir Golden attack. You hear him talk about brother, this and that, no education. Capture the little youth them, cause them, listen, you can get up and kill your way out. And prison the little youth them, cause you don't have the future, you know. If you don't have the young people, any country don't have the young people and put them last, you don't have the future, you know. That done. Unless you just want to give it to the Chinese them. Just give it over. Jamaica turn, you know, little China. Them never have no plan. 8 years. By the way, 8. So if you come and me know so them are Xerox. This way you see a chapter up there, sir, now. Are the original Xerox that tell them when them there university to him copy and get the thing them and copy in the bathroom and them afraid them catch him and run him when a man. Original Xerox that you know. Crack. Original Xerox, man. Ask him about it, man. You know, copy of a paper for go get marking, man. Original Xerox. See? I know so the rest of them are Xerox. So where Marky G put on your show, you them come and a flick round. But good thing him talk and you hear the plan. Because them the plan for poor people. Them the plan for ghetto people. So me say them just eliminate the youth. A matter of fact, I want to take a time out and show no what me attack because this hurt my head. It hurt my head before me do anything else. I have shown it, you know. And at this way, Marky G talk about what I want. I have shown it again because, you know, police. Let me show this earlier. Police. Look on this, and I can tell you the youth name. Them execute the youth. Look on this. You see him? I don't have bag what this happen. Look on this, people. Youth, I know. See them with them hand? See him there? See him head? Them said it's a shootout. See me? See him there at the banana tree? Look what them are doing now. They make him lead on. They make him go down. Them carry me on the sun now, you know. I execute him. Just look at them. John, no. See them carry just execute him. See that look there. See the one there? That fire the shot. See the other one I move around there so there. See the next one there. See the one of them. Them kill him, you know. Them execute him. And I Google watch this. This happened Thursday. This happened Thursday, gone. Yeah? Now them said this a shootout in a people. Eh? And Google about transformation. Eh? See the one of them there, you know. You see them good, you know. They tell people put up camera, them do it. No, them say that I shoot out and fire for them and them return them fire and them find one gun. One gun them get off fire. Yeah? This no wickedness, man. See them there? Look on that. You see it? It clear two of them have him. Them I'm gonna play it again. Now since that TVJ carried. Now you remember I showed it earlier and I showed say Google what am I talking about transfer a fool a garbage man do? Look on this. This are evil, you know, people. This must not be tolerated. See you there, you know. See him have him hand on him head there. See that one them walk, turn him back. That look like a shootout too, no? One of them I tell him kneel down now, look. See him take him hand now and go down for him. Oh gosh. Them can't do this and get away. None of them must get away. Every single one of them forget charge. What's it? Eh? Them said that now a shootout. Eh? Them weak, you can't get no people wicked. Hey, that's why when they hear me attack, I tell them at them thing I talk about, you know. I know about them thing, you know. You understand? This it can't continue like this. Eh? Look on the one of them are soldier and police. And I Google command you know. This happened Thursday. For him leave. This step on him watch. You know, you them talk about it. Them plant gun. Even if you get a man and him have a gun, you have him like this, you know, do this to him. You understand? It's a shootout. You will see me them hand on him head. Them turn them back, walk and look there. Eh? Can't do them thing, man. Them thing are sin, man. Look at the youth. When you look on this, at the youth, they shouldn't see with them hand on him head. Them tell him, go down. Me say every one of them are international court. Hey, when I stop to the one of them go up prison. Look on this. So when you walk and turn him back up, everybody over there see them. Them are look where you see them have no name look at. I want them to look on him, talk to him, tell him go down. See there? Walk at him, go down, look there. And that is a shootout. That is a shootout. It's the next young man, him gone, him on ice. That could have been anyone on the son. I don't know, little brother or grandson. Yeah? Then when them do them get up and build the lies. At this me a fight against ghetto youth. Hey, at this me a fight for ghetto youth, you know. This them are evilness, you know. Or if you have them man and call them police and soldier. Oh. Them man are execute. Hey, them are not police. Them are criminal. You know what them should have done? Them should have done 80 when them do this. Come in, no. Them are get barbecue. And roast. If we catch one of them and send them there. Them are evil. Anybody but this, brother, the whole of them forget charge. Every single one of them forget charge. The police, the whole of them. The whole of them are shit. A matter of fact, I want to know them. I want to know the one of them name, you know. I want to know them name. By tomorrow, I want to know every one of them name. Because I want to call out the one of them. The whole of them are shit. All of them. Yeah? Them to go to prison. And then if them run go family, it make it worse. Because we make sure we don't go to prison. We don't have shit. They have to stop, man. See? It will stop. Can't take this no more, man. This is evilness, man. Upon him watch this happen Thursday in a Linstead, on a Linstead way there, in a bag walk way there, you know. Yes. This is shit. Yeah? People talk, no, them talk about police, this and that. No, nothing wrong with the police. I just the people them in it. Just the devil them. You just want you take the youth them like target practice. This don't make Jamaica better. Eh? You now look at a big man Pitney and do this. You will never do it. Oh, we can't allow you to just take life as you feel like. Eh? Yeah. This wrong. You see me I say? This wrong. Can't allow this no more. This wrong. Every single one of them and the sort of them to get charged. I know. Look, I have to know the one of them, you know. Because I want to know the one of them file, you know. I have to know the one of them dirty thinking file, you know. You know. Yes, all right. I don't talk. Hey, you know, I feel mad in myself, you know. Yes.
Cause this assassination, you know. This are evil, you know. And the man come talk about dirty thinking, Google has said gaga about transformation. Him transfer what? Put in a blood in him like you go pan war. Him not do nothing. Him a nasty crab. This a execution. The whole of them for go to prison. Them for get charged, even the sort of them. Every single one of them for charge and go to prison. This is evil. Hey, I never play that camera have him name. I'll do it tomorrow morning. Me do it tomorrow morning. They couldn't hear it. But them step on TV just since night. You execute you like this. And say I shoot out and then recover gun. Remember them always travel with gun figure, you know. And tell me what, me tell the people them say no care what happen. Put camera up on one place. You have some little smart little camera. You so clean. A little sharp place like that, they never know it's a camera watch them, you know. Impossible, they never know. They want to do it. You see them hold him and everything, but that's the shootout. Me say no care the play. I could have banana tree, cut out a little thing and push a camera in it. Yeah, man. The camera all over no place, keep on safe. So when them got there now, them know say get to know, oh, we don't know say them a tape. This are the lie now. And then people that hear this word find out go, yes, for them for dead long time. Yes, so you them put out, oh, him did kill this, him did kill that. Feed them style because them have enough people where them can't investigate nothing and them just strap two murder and then our people, when you hear that, they say, yes, him a killer, him for dead long time, when I idiot. Not until it reach your doorstep. You start put up with the slackness with them are going with. You understand? Yeah. You see me I say? This bad, man. This bad. You understand? It bad, man. It's bad. See? You just say wrong thing that you know, man. Go down there. Let me see this. Yeah, man. It bad, man. See? This bad, man. Man does have a flash out and I don't see it because I don't know. So, Arthur, me move the wrong somebody we have to go do that, you know, we have to go. Yeah, man, Arthur. Don't when we run that sort of don't come on us come talk. Don't do that. Don't do that. You know, we not do dictator thing like we wanna Andrew them place and thing. Don't do it around here, yeah? Yeah, man. Yeah, same way bad boy Trevor, same way. Yeah, man, this them thing have to stop this evilness. Never play the version where them put now on TVJ and them say them call him name. Them call him name. But me play it tomorrow, cause see ta TVJ carry since night now. Can you hear ta? Hear ta?
49 a.m. Pineapple Lane, Bogwalk, St. Catherine. The last time Romario Sterling was seen alive. In this CCTV video, the police are seen talking to the man who was seemingly instructed to kneel. He was taken outside his premises and then the sound of a gunshot. It's unclear how many members of the security forces were at the scene, but we observed them milling around. By this time, Romario Sterling laid lifeless on the ground. The police report on the incident last Thursday stated that the shooting happened at 8:20 p.m.
That's not what happened. They came here in the morning. They had him here. They can see the video. The time span on the video says 7:49. Already had him here with him hand on him head.
49 a.m. or p.m.
A.M.
It also stated that the deceased man was shot during a confrontation.
No gunshot no come through the zinc. So if him in so I shoot after them. They're supposed to stand out that door and shoot after him in here.
Right? The report further said the cops seized a 9mm pistol with a magazine containing 8 rounds. Romario's relatives are incensed.
You pretend the man with him hand on him head. So many so many man pretend one man, you know, and he have him hand on him head. I imagine the scoop him down on his knee. For the evidence is there where we see your hand on him shoulder, push him down on him knee. Oh my God. And you look at me and tell me, say, I no baby that you kill. No baby that you take a candy from. Of concern is the police report on the incident. The family is also questioning why their relative was killed in such a manner. I imagine, you know, you go at the house and you knock on the door and then open the door, right? And surrender to you. A relative who lives where the incident occurred says the lawmen also entered the house using a flashlight because inside is poorly lit. And the other video inside they can literally hear when they come and knock the door. I have that video on the phone. They knock the door and when you open it, you see the flashlight flashing. There are no bullet holes or other signs, he says, of a raging gun battle. As for the deceased man's father, he's distraught. He says his son has been living in the area for more than 3 years and insists he has not had any run-ins with the law. Teacher will tell us I cheer my son sit down at school. No bad reputation for no school. So my son a fight or nothing. My son go to school, they didn't graduate. When contacted, the police insist the incident happened in the night and maintain that they were acting in self-defense. Indicom is investigating. Kirk Wright, TV.
All right, so that's a night, people. You see them good. That look like night. This is how them lie. That look like night too, no? And the video clear, you know. That's a night, you know. Clear. And I said them in a night. And a one man. And him a fire for you. And you fire back. Him alone over there and them, you go do this. But the camera them, yeah, save the day. And them are self-defense. That command since night. We have said these things to stop. No, me I talk about, you know. It's a wicked country, man. You can't have people where you say, you know, join the force to take revenge and just walk. A serial killer, some of them. You call them hitman, serial killer, because them love killing, you know. In a foreign, let me tell you this. In a Canada, you have enough police, never kill a man yet. In a UK, completely. Them do the whole of them time. Majority of them never kill one man. In a United States, too, you know. And every police kill a man. They have so much police force in the place. So much police thing in the place. If them that kill people, then can you imagine how much people them that kill, man? Enough police over there never kill a man yet. Never shoot a man yet. In Jamaica, some man have say you may have about 20 stripe. 20. And boast about it. And 10. You understand? In these circumstances, yeah, and always, you know, you shoot and you shoot back. These things will stop. At time for some people go to prison. You can't have a country run like this. You can't make a man go join do something and then through badge and gun. You love him. They say every single one of them what we just see to go to prison. All of them. And them just lie. Stop them don't know say camera they did there, you know. So then stop and them lie. It's a night and a shoot out. So you have seen. You have seen the place in the dark. You know, see no street light, you know. And a street light that. That ain't a street light. Maybe look to a place. Him said them say night. 8:30. This look like 8:32. No, it's about 8:30 in Jamaica. That's at 9. Bright so. I don't care what make even them say like because this bright. It's also dark as them cut off what, but they are seeing clear. Eh? That's a man you put on for Neil and I say we out there, I say tree, I say everything. Camera pick them up good. Even if them said I could have even midnight. If you want to get them come here, I say good and clear. Okay? So even if they afternoon hour or early morning hour, me I soon clear. You put him for a knee long and you shoot him. And then you come with lie. So this is a shootout. Me can't tell the most police in them places don't kill a man. Take it as me tell you can go check it out. Go check it. Eh? In the come up punk, you know, them not good enough. You go Barrington. You go I wanna win, you know, say my artist too. I wanna win, you know. But you know good night and better. Low that man and come back or do a lot of work and come back and your music and you're good man. But low that in the come thing now work for you, cause you're one of them where I end in the comfort. Yeah man, you feel just slow that too man. You understand? Yeah man. You go, I want away. You tell him the truth though. I want away, you know. Yeah man, I want away man. He now do a good job. Him in the come now, you know. Take over from Terrence, yeah man. But not ready for that yet. We tell him the truth, because you know my style already. Keep it real on ya. Anyway, I'm morning. We now come off of this, you know. Just a start on this morning. Me say, and this under Google Watch before him leave too. And the soldier will kick the man in our chest upon Google Watch. And you come talk about this and about farm, about whip farm, and about transformation. Transformation what? We do Google. Google can get soldier. Go now look at total soldier here before stepping a woman chest and this car about transformation. In Google, think people are idiot. Look there. See him draw about the people. Look now, look here now. Backside and everything. See she look there. Woman, she come back. See him step now chest and draw him rifle there. See there? But him tell us the police have manners and the soldier them and them deal with people nice and what. This is crap. Them should not, hey, let me tell you this, man. Them are sin. This is where Andrew make happen to the people. And then, let me tell you what now, you know. Remember, you know, crap, tell them for the shoot, you know. So even the youth where you see, watch it. See backside down there. Ever see soldier backside, man? You know, you should have nothing but a little now, and you draw back, and by she turn your backside down and step in her stomach, in her chest, with them boot there. You ever find that? And then draw your rifle upon her. See them and police there. And this is the next camera again, people look there. Can the people them put up more cameras? So it's all good. So if them go and tell life on this now, you know. But them over the camera see them. Yeah man. The camera see them. People gonna put up more camera. Don't stop me at telling you, yeah? Alright, me there, you know. Later. It's wrong, man. Them thing are wrong, man. The first one for overall. Any police pick up for that. That means them no good neither, you know. Them are criminal too, you know. In this case, you know. Because you can't want a country. Are you join a force to make the place better? But you make it worse when you leave. Oh, that work. Oh, it work. You can't tell me nothing. If you're wrong, you shouldn't even get to go into the force. Simple. Because you mash up the country. You understand? And it give you more I'm going to tell you, more flexible now way in the force you can use it, criminal with bat and gun. Let me tell you, one bad police like them one here, more dangerous than 1,000 gunmen. One of them bad police can reach and tell like you know. Go and judge and tell like shoot you and say shoot or planting for you do all kind of things, you know. He can come pick you up. And you think you're going to and carry you over poor trial. This is what them do all the time. Go try to get the crocodile them over there. That crocodile nyam people over there too, yeah? And a Portmore and soldier and police can them go throw them over there too, yeah? Them used to bury them over there. Now them feed you to crocodile. Enough crocodile over there, yeah? Alright, we don't talk. And a joke me I make neither. Them who know what's a joke me I make. Can you know me not do tabloid? Yeah? Alright, we don't talk. Later, yeah? Bless. Cool.